The third race of the 2026 UIM Moto Surf World Championship comes to the beautiful capital city of Stockholm in glorious Sweden, ready for the Huski Grand Prix of Sweden. It is going to be a very exciting battle, the third race of the season from Çeşme in Turkey to Prague in Czechia and all the way here to beautiful Stockholm, one of the most beautiful and ancient capitals. We're here on the Djurgårdsbrunnsviken, the Bay of Sweden, host of the diving, swimming, pentathlon, rowing and water polo events during the 1912 Summer Olympic Games. It is glorious weather here in Sweden, absolutely textbook and perfect for moto surf. This very challenging course we have coming up, very technical, quite physical. The riders telling me it's very hard indeed, straining on the back and the legs, in some cases even on the neck muscles. It's cold water, easy waves at times, difficult waves at others. Not a natural flow between buoys, a lot of the riders are telling me as well. Every angle of every turn on the course is different. So it's very hard to get into a bit of a rhythm. The long lap is around 10 to 12 seconds on this particular course. Some riders are saying they're actually at their limit. This morning in the first practice sessions, a couple of the riders were actually struggling to breathe because of how cold the water was. A lot of mistakes are likely. It'll be difficult for riders to get themselves up to speed. And of course, the biggest challenge of the weekend thus far is the one-shot showdown for qualifying. They will go out on the course 2 by 2. They'll get 2 flying laps. It's got to be legal and it's got to be A-OK. Fortunately, we have enough riders in each category to make sure that everyone will go through to the heats. There are no knockout stages on this particular occasion. We've got riders from all across the globe to compete for the Huski Grand Prix of Sweden, and it really is going to be a very big challenge for all of our riders across the junior, masters men, masters women, the electric challenge for the first time in 2026, the stock category, the elite women and the elite men. And we will start the ball rolling with the juniors. Jake Sanson here in the commentary box position. And we have 10 competitors in the junior class. Nika Sawangwan, Filip Pesha, Natalie Odorova, Bibiana Bubnikova, Adela Bokorova, Leo Lishel-Kratishvili, Max Rushka, Nela Pozhnikova, Ellen Bardova and Stanislav Kohut will head out onto the course 2 by 2 to take on the challenge of the Huski Grand Prix of Sweden. Great to have your company and your patronage. Do tell us where you're tuning in from, where you're watching from, who you're cheering on. We've got competitors from all 4 corners of the globe, across the Americas, across Europe, across Asia. So many big competitors to put on a big show. There is one big name, of course, not here for this particular weekend, and that is the 3-time elite women's world champion, Eliska Maruskova. Her first holiday in 7 years. She wanted to book it for quite some time, and unfortunately it just happens to have fallen on the same weekend as the Grand Prix of Sweden. She is devastated not to be racing here, but she needed the break. And sometimes you just got to prioritize your mental health and take that little bit of a breather. She will be back for Marbella in Spain in September. And she sends her love and best wishes to everyone here in the paddock. She's a little unhappy that she couldn't race, but at the same time, self-care is self-care, so important. But we are definitely in the vibes here in Sweden, as the competitors have been taking on the course for 2 free practice sessions early this morning. It is very cold water, but it's relatively decent air temperature here in Stockholm, particularly for the time of year. All of the locals are rather dumbfounded as to how the weather is so good. It's got to be something to do with moto surf being in town. 24 degrees Celsius at the moment in the air temperature. Tomorrow it's going to get as high as 26 at various points of the day, so it's absolutely perfect. There is a little bit of a gust of wind, a northeasterly 7 miles an hour or so, which definitely could change things for the competitors out there. We've got the first 2 riders in the junior category out there on the course. Nico Sawangwan returning to the category in Moto Surf, but it's his first time competing in the UIM Moto Surf World Championship. Last competed in 2024, I should point out, so it isn't the first time he's competed in the World Championship, but certainly the first time in the last couple of seasons. He was 6th in the junior boy class back in 2024, 3rd in the juniors in the United States in 24, took a year out last year, and has returned to racing in 2026. There is his opponent for this qualifying run, Filip Pesha, 13 years of age, made his debut in Croatia last year, raced at Prague last time out, so this is only the 3rd time he has ever competed in an international event. So the contenders are just getting themselves up to speed. The first lap time, of course, will be the first real indication as to how things are going. nobody's really been keeping an eye on the times thus far. But one thing we do know is that this is quite a tight, quite a technical and nimble course. The riders have told us that the slalom in particular that we're approaching on our drone cameras here, the two sides of the slalom are actually very close together and the buoys are very tight on this particular course. So getting it right, as you can see for yourself watching Philippe Pescia, is going to be very tricky indeed. You've got to be so acute on those angles. And these final two buoys, the left into the right, very tight run indeed from both of those buoys. So it's not going to be the easiest of courses here. And although this is a river course, third different type of course that we've had this year, we had the Ocean Bay of Cheshme in Turkey going to the Black Sea. And then, of course, we had the fabulous competitive event at Prague in Czechia last month, 3 weeks ago, where we had a reservoir course. Now we're on the river here in the Bay of Sweden in the Djursgården, which is part of the King's Royal Land. So across the line, Nico Sawangwan's done a 1 minute 1.426. Philippe Pescia's time was a 1:05.137 for the first run. Sawangwan not as fast in the second run, so his time remains at a 1:01.426. The 13-year-old from Seattle in America. And we'll see if Philippe Pescia is going to be able to go any quicker on this particular run as well. Oh, and down he goes into the slalom. Very easy to do on this course. Particularly very tight indeed in the slalom. So Philippe Pescia makes the first error of the qualifying session, but he did get a clean lap in the first time, a 1:05.137. So Philippe Pescia still getting a decent enough time on the board. That's how easy it is to get it sideways. Once 45% of the board goes in at an angle, it's very difficult to pick things up and get it all sorted again. So for Nico Sawangwan and Philippe Pescia, they finish their runs. Of course, Pescia's time is going to be a best of a 1:05.137. Nico Sawangwan with a time of a 1:01.426. So he takes the lead then, the 13-year-old, looking very solid indeed as he opens his account in a very positive manner. We've still got some good battles to come. Natalie Udorova getting herself ready, the 14-year-old for the Rocket Racing team. Based out of Odry, raced in Sweden and Croatia in the 24 and 25 seasons. Actually currently P5 in the standings, Natalie Odorova, in the junior girl category. This is likely to be her first full-time campaign in competition, which is very good news indeed for her if that's going to be the case. She heads her way out onto the course. She was telling me earlier today this is a very difficult course indeed for her personally. She's finding it quite a tough going on this particular category. We can see there the jetty that's usually full of small cadet boats and interesting kayaks on the far side as well. They've all been cleared away on this occasion as the Bay of Sweden is greeted to moto surf. Great to see proper sporting competition on this site for the first time in 114 years. That's quite an incredible statistic, isn't it? The 1912 Summer Olympic Games hosted 5 different sporting events here in the water. And 114 years later, we managed to get competitive competition back out here in the Djursgårdens Vingsbraten. Fantastic to see everybody putting on such a great show to prepare. But yeah, the Djurgårds Brunnsviken, the Bay of Sweden. It took competition for water polo, the pentathlon, the swimming element, of course, individual swimming competitions, the open air swimming, rowing and diving during the 1912 Summer Olympic Games. Quite a lot has moved on since then, but the ancient city of Stockholm still has all of its beautiful and picturesque buildings. The other competitor in the junior qualification for this particular run, alongside Natalie Odorova, is the superstar in the making, Bibiana Bubnikova, just 13 years of age, from Mielnik for the FG Forest Racing team. This is only her 3rd ever event. She made her debut in Turkey a couple of months ago in the Moto Surf World Championships. Only been riding for 1 year. Her hero and inspiration is the Formula 1 driver, Kimi Antonelli. So Natalie Odorova working hard. There is Bibiana Bubnikova really starting to put on the speed. She said by her own admission she made an error in judgment in Prague. Could have had a crack at the victory were it not for that. You can see here that Natalie Odorova is having to make quite a wide berth through the buoys to get the slalom to go right. If you just haven't quite got the confidence yet to turn on the spindle of 180 degrees and you have to make a bit of a wider trajectory, not easy to figure out where you're going to get the most of that. A 105.6 to start the ball for Bibiana Bubnikova. Natalie Udorova looking to finish off her run. She works her way through. I think actually the two times are opposing each other. I think that's Natalie Udorova's time as a 105.671, and Bibiana Bubnikova is coming through for a faster run this time by. So yeah, that is Natalie Udorova's time apparently is a 54.743. I think it's the other way around, you know. I think Bibiana Bubnikova was the one who just came through over the line. But a 54.743, if that is the case for Bibiana Bubnikova, that is mighty, mighty quick. Oh, down very nearly, well saved actually for Natalie Udorova. She manages to catch that, but of course she's got to make a very wide radius around the buoy to get herself back into the rhythm. The checkered flag is out for Natalie Udorova. Her first run was a 105.671. I've got a feeling that the two transponders are incorrect, and in the final buoy she just trips it up. So hopefully across the line she'll go. She'll just get on the throttle and she'll just push her board back over the line to finish the run. It's not going to be as fast as the 105.6 time was from her earlier on. Easily done. Bibiana Bubnikova comes across the line to finish her run as well. But a 54.743 I think it is for Bibiana Bubnikova as the two ladies. So very exciting to see what she can do. If that's the kind of pace that she's able to set. And of course, that is the fastest official time that we've had so far. This is also the first weekend of the 2026 season where we're going to see the electric challenge category. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on after the Masters women class. In the electric challenge, it is for the boards that are electric. All the others, of course, are petrol driven. So out onto the water goes Adela Pokorova, the number 78, the 14-year-old for the Apex pilots from Stalavi. Her first race was 2 years ago in Croatia, fourth in the junior girl category last season. Relaxed and confident coming into this one. She feels quite calm and composed on this course. It seems to suit her quite well. So hopefully all is going to go according to plan. And there is the young man who is going to challenge for his first overall Motorsurf World Championship win. That is Leo Licher-Kratishvili, the 13-year-old from Pestolsdorf in Austria. Fifth in the championship standings in junior boy in 24 and 25. Best result in the UAE last year, matched at Prague by getting on the podium. Winner in the Motorsurf Games USA last year as well. A big talent, and the more he races, the faster he goes and the more confident he gets. Loving life in Sweden, really enjoying being out here and putting on some good performances. So we wait to see what Adela Pokorova is going to do on this occasion. So it looks as though the times have been removed temporarily for Natalie Udorova and Bibiana Bubnikova. They will be corrected, and so the time we'll have for Bibiana Bubnikova will be a 54.3, and that is the benchmark that the riders will be trying to eclipse. Good attacking starts from Leo Licher-Kratishvili as he goes into the course. You've got to go left of the yellow buoys to turn right, and right of the red buoys to turn left. That's how the course works. You don't take the long lap in qualification, of course. You just got to go 2 laps around the course, and the fastest lap you can do is your representative time. So Pokorova and Licher-Kratishvili working hard on the course. There is Adela Pokorova. The juniors, of course, race together until the final, and then the junior girls race in their own race compared to the junior boys. Pokorova does a 55.838. That's not bad compared to what we saw from Bibiana Bubnikova a short while ago. Leo Licher-Kratishvili would love a time in the 54s. Now, he's gone to the near side slalom. It's actually really tricky there. It's quite close to the bank as well. So you can't afford too many mistakes in race trim. In qualifying, he seems to have found a bit of a rhythm there. So Leo Licher-Kratishvili looking to bring it out of the turns. What can he do as he comes across the line? What is the time? It's a 55.1. Very quick from the Austrian. Provisional fastest time, but then of course when we get the corrected times for Natalie Udorova and Bibiana Bubnikova, that will be good enough for second place with 0.8 of a second to gain. Still working hard, Adela Pokorova. She does seem like she's got good flow here actually. This is a course that really suits her. Into the left, into the right, the checkered flag's out on the jetty, across the line now. And Adela Pokorova, does she improve? A 54.3 from Pokorova. Very good indeed from Adela Pokorova. That's going to be a fraction of a second slower than what we saw from Bibiana Bubnikova, but now we've got a statement of intent from Adela Pokorova, who really seems to be flying here in Sweden. Excellent work for the 14-year-old, for the Apex Pilots team, who could really use a decent result in the juniors. Here comes the Alicia Kratishvili, really attacking the final couple of buoys. Does he go quicker still? 55.192 to beat for him. He does a 55.987. The second run not quite as quick as the first. So Adela Pokorova goes provisional top. But once we get the lap times reinstated from Natalie Udorova and Bibiana Bubnikova, I believe it's going to be the latter that will just be a fraction of a second quicker than Adela Pokorova. But we're talking a few hundredths of a second between those two. So in come Adela and Leo, and they will hand over to another boy and girl across the junior category. There is Max Ruska, the MS Czech talent rider, 13 years of age from Brno. Fourth in junior boy last year. Best result came in Croatia. Currently second in the championship in the junior boy category. That would be his best ever season. Seems to have a difficult start to the weekend, and then he really finds his feet throughout the course of the heats. Looking likely to be a similar story for him here in Stockholm. He goes out onto the course alongside Nela Poznikova. There's a lot to talk about for the 13-year-old Jet Surf Pardubice rider. Third in junior girl last year, the joint championship leader on points. There she is in the foreground. She is the same age as the championship leader, Ellen Berdova. The only reason Berdova leads the championship is that she won both of the Grand Prix finals, but they have the same amount of points coming into the weekend. So they are tied for points on the championship. Berdova has the lead by virtue of their last race result, which was the Grand Prix in Czechia, and she won. The winner of the final is the winner of the Grand Prix, but not necessarily the winner of the championship, because of course the championship all comes down to points scored. And after two very even weekends in Turkey and Czechia, the two riders, Nela Poznikova and Ellen Berdova, actually have the same amount of points. That shows you how close it is. And hilariously as well, very inspirationally as well, the two ladies, Nela Poznikova and Ellen Berdova, hang around together all the time. They are in each other's companies every single second. They're rivals when they're on the water, but they are the absolute best of friends when they're in the paddock. You can't keep them away from each other. So Hruska really starting to find the dial in here. He's looking so confident on the outside slalom, close to the bank, through the left and through the right. Quite some tight radiuses there to finish the lap. Let's see what Hruska can do. 54.396 to beat. What does he come up with for the first lap? Hruska, we're waiting for the time to update. It's a 55.00. Not bad at all. 0.7 of a second away. Not even, in fact. So Poznikova now comes into the slalom, looking to try and find a similar sort of pace. Left, right, left. Got to be so careful on the radius. It's not easy with such a tight slalom course on this Stockholm Bay of Sweden course. Out of the final couple of buoys, let's see what the time is for Poznikova. 54.997. There is 0.06 of a second between Poznikova and Hruska on their first run. That is how competitive Moto Surf Juniors can be. So Hruska trying to make up 0.07 of a second to go ahead of Poznikova. Needs a few more tenths to take the lead, but it's a good start from Hruska. Can he go quicker? 54.085. That's a full second quicker, and that is the fastest time we've seen all day in the juniors from Max Ruska. Perfect run from the Czech. Now it's Poznikova's turn to improve. Pushing into the slalom, working hard, really tucking into these buoys now. Getting a very solid run, and now trying to just finish off in good stance. She's also made improvements on this particular lap. Is it good enough to go quicker than Hruska? 52.634. Smashes the pace of Hruska and everybody else thus far. This is certainly turning into Nela Poznikova's best ever season. And now her stablemate, her playmate, comes out onto the water. Ellen Berdova, the reigning junior girl world champion, can't step up into the elite women yet. She's too young, sadly. Still only 13 years of age. Won both Grand Prix this year in Turkey and in Prague. And she'll head out onto the water with the junior boy who did the same thing in his class, Stanislav Kohut, the 13-year-old from Prague who won on home soil 3 weeks ago. And of course also won the Turkish Grand Prix and in the UAE last year as well. Runner-up in junior boy in 2025, looking to do the job in 2026. But what a run from Nela Poznikova. A 52 to really push the boat out. So the 52.9, I think it was, in the end. That is an incredible lap from Nela Poznikova, and that is the time that both Stanka Hut and Anna Bordova are going to be trying to beat. 52.634 in the end. Absolutely astonishing pace from Nela Poznikova. So 52.634 is what we're trying to beat, and we've got the two top riders in terms of Grand Prix victories of this season thus far to try and take on that mantle. So 52.634 is the time to beat. It's also the fastest time of the day so far. But of course, once the elites come out, well, that's definitely going to change. 52.634 currently is the benchmark set by Nela Poznikova. Big push now from Ellen Bordova. Not much to choose between her and Nela Poznikova in terms of one-lap pace so far this season. It's been about intelligence and consistency that's really put one above the other through the course of this year. Bordova won the final in Turkey, but Poznikova actually scored 12 more points than her through the course of that weekend. Unbelievably, Bordova actually made all 12 of those points back by dominating the event in Prague. And so they now have the same amount of points in the championship as they come here to Sweden. Here's Stanka Hut. A brilliant balancing act of sports through the course of his year. He's a moto surf rider. He races ovales on two wheels in motorbikes, in the mini bike categories. He also races karts in the Czech Karting Championship. Ellen Bordova's down out of the final turn. A very rare mistake from Ellen Bordova. You don't see that every day. So problems then for Ellen Bordova as she pushes just a little bit too hard in the final buoy. There's the moment where she loses the footing. A very difficult moment indeed then for Ellen Bordova. It does not work out in her favor at all. And here comes Stanka Hut to try and finish off the run. It's very cold, the water here, about 16 degrees Celsius only, so it's not particularly easy going. As Stanka Hut gets a 53.69 out of it, Bordova has retired from her run. I think she's retired from the session. She's going to have another go. Okay, so she is going to have another crack at the second lap time. Bailed out of that run completely, and now going for another one. This is not going to be easy at all for Bordova to try and set the time. She can do 2 complete laps. First one counts as a DNF. Oh, and there's Stanka Hut. He's done the same thing. We did say at the start of the program that the mistakes were going to be quite possible here. Oh, just stuffs the front of the board in. The only way to cure that is when you pull the cable just a little bit closer to you. You almost pull it like a guy rope. And it looks like Bordova's bailed out of that one as well. Dear, oh dear, no time for Ellen Bordova. So it's going to be Nela Poznikova who sets the pace. Bordova crossing the line on a 41.5, but of course that's not going to be a legal lap at all. She missed about 12 buoys. So Bordova is going to be starting these heats in Sweden from the back. Stanka Hut has done enough to get into second position. But of course, if we take the time into account for Bibiana Bubnikova, she'll be in the mix there as well. Is Ellen Bordova having a third attempt? I think she's been granted one, has she? If that is the case, then she can still push for it. So if this time is allowed for Ellen Bordova, which I'm assuming it probably will be, then she does have one more chance to try and get there. It's a much smoother run. 2 buoys to go. Checkered flag is on the jetty. There is the finish line. The gantry on the water. Is this going to be a faster time for Bordova? A 53.24. So that's fractionally quicker than what we saw from Bibiana Bubnikova, and fractionally quicker than Stanka Hut as well. But the junior pole goes the way of Nela Poznikova, 52.634. The times in junior will be updated because we're still missing the times from Natalie Udorova and Bibiana Bubnikova. But the pole position in the junior category does indeed go the way of the 13-year-old for Jet Surf Pardubice, Nela Poznikova. What a great performance from her in the first junior session of the weekend that is official. 52.634 to beat for everybody else today. And the juniors are done for the moment. They'll be back tomorrow for their first races. Great to see everybody tuning in. Even Eliska Maruskova can't resist the allure of watching while she's on holiday this weekend. Stuart Reid, as ever, watching from Australia, cheering for Kim Down. Well, he'll get his moment because, of course, the Masters are out next in the men's category. And, of course, hashtag Turkish Style on the YouTube stream as well. Our friends in Turkey, who we got to race with in June earlier this year. Always part of the family. The first two riders out then in Masters Men as we start the bid again. A welcome return to the championship for the 47-year-old from Orlando in Florida, Brian Leet. Last competitive outing was all the way back in 2024 at Croatia. And he's out there with our good friend Andrei Atanasov for Sofia Extreme, the Bulgarian. There he is, getting himself dialed in and ready. Made his Moto Surf World Championship debut in Poland 2 years ago. Sweden is going to be his 6th different Masters event. And what a fabulous opportunity for him to continue to put on the steam. He's been racing all through the year this year. This is going to be hopefully a full-time campaign for the Bulgarian. He's a fabulous character as well. I joked with him earlier, if you cracked his head open, it would be Ayia Napa in his skull somewhere. So the Masters are starting their run. The juniors having finished their qualification. And hopefully we'll get the times on the board very quickly indeed. Looks as though everything is pretty much sorted. I think there's a delay in getting the Masters men up to date, and that is all down to the, yeah, the red flag is out. It's to do with the timing system, I believe. So they're stopping the session to update the times. I think essentially the times of Natalia Udorova and Bibiana Bubnikova need to be updated. Once they are, we can go back into the motions once again. But as I calculate it, fastest time of the juniors is Nela Poznikova on that 52.634. Second was Ellen Berdova in the end. Third position for Stan Cahoots. Fourth position will be Max Rushka. Fifth place for Adela Pokorova. Very strong indeed from her on this occasion. Fractionally quicker than the time set by Bibiana Bubnikova, who will be 6th. Then Leolisha Kratishvili should be 7th in the rankings. 8th place will be Nico Sawanwan, the 13-year-old from Seattle in Washington. And then 9th place for Filip Pescia. And in 10th position should be Natalie Udorova. That's as I make it at the moment. The Masters have been given the chance to return back to the shoreline so that the officials can reset things and put things back the way they should be. And then once they have done that, we'll be able to go back to battle again. Not quite the same vast quantity of competitors on this occasion that we have had in the past. One of the difficulties, of course, is that there's no direct route to get here for most of the competitors. The nearest airport for direct flights is Copenhagen, and that's quite away from here. So you've got to remember that even if there is a flight in between, so you've got a stopover, when you're carrying all this kind of equipment, you want a direct flight. You want to guarantee that your jet surf equipment and the board, all of the other bits and pieces, they're actually going to come with you rather than get delayed halfway through a transfer. You don't want to have a stop or two in between. You want a direct flight, and quite a few of the riders have actually been put off by the logistical challenge of being here in Stockholm where there isn't a direct flight. So that's one of the difficulties in getting everybody to this fantastic location. But the Huski Wear Grand Prix of Sweden, really already a fantastic event here. Obviously, all of the locals who enjoy this area for its sporting backdrop, whether they're out on the water or jogging down the lane, they're all enjoying themselves out there. There is the welcome return for Brian Leet, the 47-year-old from Orlando in Florida. Great to see him back in the World Championship for the first time in a couple of seasons. Andrei Atanasov has never been away. He's been there from Turkey all the way to Prague and now here to Sweden. And no doubt we'll see him in Marbella in Spain next month as well, before the doubleheader in China to conclude in November. Back-to-back weekends. We'll finish off the 2026 Championship in Asia. Really looking forward to seeing those 2 weekends. And of course, we all love heading out to that part of the world where we get a lot more of the Asian contingent. So we've got some great competitors in the Masters category this weekend. Brian Leet of the United States, Andrei Atanasov of Bulgaria, Pavel Matoshka of the Czech Republic. Jaime Hincache of Chile is back once again, also in the Jet Surf Orlando fold. Abraham Tibor of Hungary will be there along with Nikita Antonov, the Israeli. Murat Jorgenschila, the Turkish superstar, alongside the Austrian Romanishil Knatishvili. And then we have Michel Ular, who is actually on double duty this weekend. Not only is he racing in Masters Men, he's also competing, as is Abraham Tibor, in the Electric Challenge. As we can see inside the race control booth, we can see all of the timing screens currently being worked on to make sure that everything is up to date. Along with the other Czech riders in the field, we have Jiří Stovacek and Petr Pozdik, the Jet Surf Pardubice teammates. Yuri Renner is in the mix as well. He's on double duty. He's not only competing in Masters Men, but also in Elite. More on that story later. Arkadia Zinora of Poland, Petr Valtasek of the Czech Republic, David Poznik also of the Czech Republic, both of them racing under the Jet Surf Pardubice banner. And of course, the king of Masters, Kim Down, the Korean rocket ship for rocket racing. So the juniors will get their times updated overnight. Stick around on the website as well for more up-to-date information, motorsurfworldcup.com. By virtue of the fact that this used to be known as the World Cup, it became part of the World Championship backdrop of the UIM in 2022. And of course, racing has been taking place in the Motor Surf World Cup since 2014. The sport is one of the newest in the world, with the boards only getting their proper vilification and founding in about 2010, 2011. Competition started in 2012, the Motor Surf World Cup in 2014, and the World Championship, as it is now, making its first proper season in 2022. Part of the World Games last year in Chengdu in China. Hopefully it'll be back again for the Karlsruhe running in Germany in 2029. But the two riders are now out there really trying to find their feet as Andrei Atanasov goes through the gate to start the course. You can skip the buoys until you're actually on the timed run. Brian Leet is also out there as well. February's child. The day after Valentine's Day, 1979, is when Brian Leet came into the world. And he's been a fantastic competitor in Moto Surf whenever he gets the chance. He's a busy man out in Orlando, but not too busy to add Motor Surf racing to his vast schedule. Let's see what Brian Leet opens the door with in the first run. 59.192 to set the ball rolling. Solid competitor in America. Andrei Atanasov sadly finds the wave in exactly the wrong way, and that water is 16 degrees Celsius roughly at the moment, so it's very cold when you fall in, especially when the air temperature is only in the 20s at the moment. Alex Lukscheider mucking about on a sting. Are you focusing on the job? It's good training, is it? All right. I'll agree with you, Alex, I'm sure. It's all about life at Team Huski. It's all about play. You work hard, you play hard. I love it. Alex Lukscheider trying to distract me outside my commentary box awning window. He's mucking about on a Sting motocross bike. I must have a go at that later. I have a feeling it's got a little bit more punch than my Yamaha Fazio back home in Pattaya in Thailand. So Brian Leet opened it up with a 59.192. What's his second run going to be? Is it anywhere closer to the mark? 59.4. So it remains on a 59.192 for Brian Leet. And here comes Andrei Atanasov. Cruising. He's going for his second run, that's why. Took him a bit of time to get back on the board. But you're allowed 2 laps. So he charges for the start gate. And Andrei Atanasov from Sofia, the capital city of Bulgaria, trying to make his move. Fabulous country, Bulgaria. I was there last month for the WGP1 Jet Ski World Series. Andrei Atanasov is looking a little bit loose, I have to say. The balance is not quite there yet for the Bulgarian. But just as it always is in Moto Surf, every lap is different here. The waves and the current of the river does actually make quite a bit of a difference when you're trying to find your rhythm. A lot of the riders said to me that qualifying shouldn't be too difficult for the riders to tame, but the racing tomorrow, that's where the mistakes are really going to start to come. But particularly in these buoys on the far side of the course, where they're all in a sort of rhythm. Checkered flag is in the air. It'll greet Andrei Atanasov as he comes through, but he's got to navigate the slalom first. He decides to go for the slalom on the right side, closer to the bank. But this weekend, you can see how close the buoys are to each other. It's not easy for Atanasov at all to find the speed he wants. So I think it's just about completing the run. A lot of the riders in the Masters know that if you just get a clean lap, you're still ahead of the riders that fall over twice. So Atanasov does a 1:13.3. It's just about consistency for the Bulgarian on this occasion. He completes a clean qualifying lap. That will stand, but it's not as quick as Brian Lee. We've got a waft of American talent here this weekend, joining Anthony Squire in the elite category. We've got the entire Sawangwan family, as well as Brian Leet. So we've got a competitor in the Masters men. We've got a competitor in the Masters women, that is Terza Sawangwan. We've also got the stock rider Sawangwan, and we have, of course, the junior Nico Sawangwan, who we saw a little earlier on. So we very nearly got an American competitor in every single class this time out. Nearly. Out onto the water go the next two. The 61-year-old, oldest competitor in the entire competition from Ritani. I hope I said that right this time, Pavel. Thanks for coaching me. For the FG Forest Racing team. Absent from Turkey, but was there in Prague 3 weeks ago and is here again in Sweden for the FG Forest Racing team. The oldest competitor in the entire competition, and still a bit of a spring chicken compared to some of the other athletes I could mention. He's out there with the Chilean, Jaime Hincache. Great to see him back again. Raced twice in Italy and Macau last season. Competed at the season opener in Turkey. Had to work, unfortunately, during the signature event in Prague. But he's made the journey from Orlando in Florida to be out here at Stockholm in Sweden. And it's great to see him back in the paddock once again. So the fastest proper qualifying time of the day thus far is still that of the junior Nela Poznikova on a 52.634. I wonder how much quicker than that the top rider in Masters men will get. There is Pavel Matoshka, rider number 64. They carry individual numbers, not all of them. It's not statutory to carry a racing number, but a lot of them like to. Of course, when they're in the heats, they are given a number on their shorts, dictated as to where they start the race from. And it's also how we know who's who out there on the water a little bit easier. Ducking down on the board, Jaime Hincache, the 41-year-old from Chile, goes to battle. Let's see what he can do. He's the one member of our paddock this weekend who gives us our Latin flavour. Riders from all over Europe, North and South America this weekend represented, as well as across Asia. Still need a few more of our Australian riders to return to the foray. Stuart Reid, I'm looking at you. No, enjoy the comfort of sitting at home and enjoying the spectacle of watching it, mate. Here comes Pavel Matoshka. Over the line, what's his benchmark going to be? 108.76, that'll do for the moment for Pavel Matoshka. Just starting the ball rolling. Oh, it looks as though he's missed a buoy, so unfortunately the time is not allowed. So Pavel Matoshka will have to go back into the scrap again, as Jaime Hincache really is skipping and dancing over the waves here, with a chance to get himself back together across the line. 57.6, that's the fastest Masters men time we've had so far. Certainly quicker than Brian Lee. So for the moment, at least, oh no, he doesn't keep it because Jaime Hincache missed a buoy as well. That's one of the first tasks, is learning the course. It's not easy to try and figure your way around. Not the same as a racetrack where the tarmac tells you where you're going. The buoys are all about concentration. You have to really figure out where you're going around the course. And if you drop a buoy, well, that's it. The lap is no longer legal in time qualifying. So the competition is going to be an interesting one, as Pavel Matoshka trying to make sure that the second lap is a clean one. He comes off the final buoy. This time he's come through. What's the time? 105.198. So about 6 seconds adrift of what we saw from Brian Lee, but this time the lap is a valid one. Jaime Hincache coming through. Nice clean sweep in the final buoy. He comes across the line, 57.67. That's more like it. And this time it's a legal lap. So Jaime Hincache, the Chilean, goes to the top of the rankings here in the Huski Wear Grand Prix of Sweden in the Masters men's category. No problem at all for him. So the Chilean takes the lead, but there are two more very competitive races to try and take him on. Masters men all over the age of 40, of course. So now it's time for Hungary and Israel to be represented on this occasion. And Abraham Tibor will be starting a championship attack as well as continuing one in the Masters, because this weekend is the first event of the Electric Challenge. He was third in the championship last year. We'll see how well he does in 2026. But Abraham Tibor for Intertrim Garage KFT He's out there on the course, along with the Israeli Nikita Antonov. 41 years of age from Havam Zavi, raced twice last year in his first campaign. 2026, as far as he's concerned, is hopeful to be a full-time campaign. Certainly looking very strong. He actually managed to convince Katerina Antonova to compete last time out, and she's here again for her second attempt in the Masters Women. The Masters Women come straight after the Masters Men class, out on the water here in the Bay of Sweden. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. So into the course goes Abraham Tibor, I believe it is, who is making the first big push. Oh, nearly stuffs the nose of the board straight into the first wave out of the second buoy. Only 2 double buoys in the course, both going to the left, interestingly enough. So we're double checking to see who's who out on this part of the course. The red helmet, I believe, is actually that of Nikita Antonov. There is Abraham Tibor trying to push the extremities. Trying to find a little bit of pace. In fact, it is in fact Nikita Antonov in the yellow jersey. Runs with jersey number 718, does Nikita Antonov. And there is Abraham Tibor. He's going to be a very tired man at the end of today. Not only is he competing in the Masters Men, he's also competing in Electric Challenge. We'll talk about that when the Masters Women class has come to an end. But certainly very busy stuff at the moment. So Abraham Tibor will come through to complete his first time run. What is the time going to be on this occasion? A 1:05.115. Got to go sub 57.6 if you want to be the fastest rider in the course. Here comes Nikita Antonov. These two are both going to be looking for consistency, I think, to get the ball rolling to start off with, just to keep their times favorable on this occasion. Sadly, Pavel Matoshka did not get the time he wanted. Nikita Antonov gets a 1:03.9. That is quicker than Tibor. So for Antonov, it's not bad going at the moment. All 6 riders currently looking relatively good pace. They've all managed to get at least 1 legal time down as well. That's the key thing in Moto Surf qualifying. The first one needs to be clean. The second one needs to be a bit of a push. Hello, blast from the past. Louis Allen's tuning in from Blighty, from the United Kingdom. Wonder how long it's going to be before Louis Allen can't resist the allure of the Moto Surf World Championship. Still got 3 more chances, Louis. We've got Spain next month, and then a doubleheader in China. Great improvement from Abraham Tibor, 1:02.44. That's a much quicker time, and that puts him about 2 seconds away from the pace, 3 seconds, sorry, away from the pace of Brian Leach. Oh, Nikita Antonov has bailed out. He knows he's made the error. He knows he's made a mistake. And so it's game over for Nikita Antonov. He's not going to finish the second run. So he knows he's got back to rights. He retires from the lap. And so it's a 1:03.901. So the faster of the two was Abraham Tibor. Tibor now goes 3rd quickest with that particular time. Now, time for a couple of mavericks. 2 of the most popular people in the paddock. The Austrian, Roman Lishok-Kratishvili, and the Turkish star, Murat Yoghancila. Out onto the circuit they go. The Bay of Sweden ringing out to athletic sport for the first time in 114 years. The venue of the 1912 Summer Olympic Games. Wonderful to see sport out on the water again. It was diving, swimming, rowing, water polo, and the pentathlon all taking part in these Jørgardsbrunnsviken waters. So there is the 2 riders getting up to speed. There's Murat Yoghancila, 46 years of age, for the My Racing team. Organizer and ambassador for Moto Surf Turkey, has raced in the World Championship since 2022, was 9th in the Masters Championship last year. Hoping to go one better than that at the very least. As Murat Yoghancila dining himself in, it looks like Roman Lishok-Kratishvili is just trying to get one more handle on the slalom before he goes for the push lap. But here goes Murat Yoghancila. He goes for the first run. The other man in the equation is the 53-year-old from Bechtoldsdorf in Austria for the Jet Surf Factory squad. We'll talk about him in a moment, but Murat Yoghancila really is starting to attack these buoys on the far side. Cool conditions, blazing sun, cold water. Not easy for the competitors. Certainly a bit of a culture shock compared to Prague on the reservoir 3 weeks ago. But here in Stockholm for the Huski Grand Prix of Sweden. Now a big push from Roman Kratishvili. He's a hotelier by day. Made his debut in the stock category back in 2022. Has only missed Macau last year since the 2024 season. So he is absolutely resolute that he will go to as many motosurf races as he possibly can. Doesn't like to miss one. Out for the final beauty on the course. Murat Jorgen Schiele looking very clean on this occasion. What's the time? A 1:01.6. Good start. Still time to find. The trick is be smooth on the first run, get a time on the board, then push on the second run. Then you can really find those big moves. Here's Roman Kratishvili out of the final beauty across the line. What's his first run going to be? 58.5. My word, Roman Kratishvili very quick here so far. But he did say to me with a wry grin this morning, no problem. I like this place. Oh, and there goes Roman Kratishvili into the water for the second run. Maybe he doesn't like it so much anymore. We're going to see what happened. Leans into the left, gets wide, hits the beauty square. Dear, oh dear. Easy mistake to make. The riders have been telling me it's not easy to get into a flow and into a rhythm around this place because the radius of every single beauty is different. Jorgen Schiele to the line. What's he done? 1 minute flat, 0.0. Not bad. Kratishvili bails out. It's okay. I got a 58.5 out of it. That'll do for me. I think it's an early bath, mate. I think you've earned it. So Roman Kratishvili manages to make his way to the second place in the times, just in behind Jaime Hincache. He's 0.8 of a second back from the Chilean. And we've still got 8 competitors in the Masters Men category still to go. The next 2, both from the Czech Republic. One for the S4F Racing team from Novi Jičín. 4th in the Electric Challenge last year, Michel Hullard, hoping to go for the top 3 in 2026. But first is his Masters Men campaign. So Michel Hullard heads out onto the course. He's raced in Stock and Masters and Electric Challenge, of course, since the 2022 season. So he's been a staple of Motosurf World Championship from the first year in 2022. And going out there with him, Yuri Stovacek, one of the fastest over 1 lap. 4th in the Masters in 2024, 8th in the Championship last year, best result of 3rd in Poland in 2024. He missed the finale in Macau last year. He's had a very productive start to the season in 2026, both in Chesme and in Prague. So a lot of big battles still to come here. So out on the Djursgarden, the Djursgardsbrunnsviken, the riders continue to push as Michel Hullard and Yuri Stovacek dial themselves in, ready for the push laps. They only get 2, of course, 2 fast laps, and that's what you're going to make of it. Out onto the course and across the line to start the lap comes Michel Hullard. So Michel Hullard trying to find the big pace as he tries to work his way forward on the far side. Through to the left, double left this time, so you've got to take a fairly wide trajectory through the first to gather yourself up for a good rotation on the second beauty. Now comes the section where it is literally left to the right, to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, and every radius of these beauties is completely different. You can't really get a decent flow. You've got to be creative. The riders were telling me it's not about speed this time. It's a technical and challenging course. It's about intelligence. You've got to try and knit these beauties together with a little bit of fluidity. Through the course again then, trying to really work through the slalom. It's really a tricky slalom this time because the beauties are so close together. And even the 2 sides of the slalom are very close to each other on this occasion. Out through the final beauty, across the line. What's the initial time going to be? 58.53. Good opener for Michel Hullard. That's enough for second already. And now Yuri Stovacek enters the slalom. So close to the bank on the right side. Can't afford to make too many errors here. Out through the left, up to the right. Final beauty of the course. Is it going to be quicker than Michel Hullard? Yes, 53.5. That smashes the previous best time in Masters by 4.1. So Yuri Stovacek, a bit of a 1-lap master, certainly goes to the top of the Masters right now. Michel Hullard digging deep to try and find a little bit more pace. The 43-year-old from Novi Čicin goes to the far side slalom. He's on the inside rather than the outside, and that sets him up nicely for a decent trajectory through the left, in through the right, the final turn, out to the line, pushing to try and find that little bit of extra pace. Is it quicker than a 58.53? It is, 57.1 for Michel Hulard. But can Jiří Stavicek beat his own run? A 53.54 to beat. Comes out of the slalom, 2 more buoys left. Little bit of throttle application, right, not too much. Want to get a decent run to the line, over it. 53.5 to beat, 52.3. Fastest time of the whole day. Excellent run there. As a 52.393 for Jiří Stavicek. That is now the fastest qualifying run we have seen today here in Stockholm. Very good run indeed. Quicker than the juniors of Nela Pozhnikova, who did a 52.634. Stavicek now with a 52.393. Catch me if you can is the buzzword to everybody else. But challenge is accepted because we've still got 6 riders who want to take on the challenge. Petr Poznik and Jiří Renner are the next 2 to venture out. And this is not going to be easy for either rider to beat. From Pardubice and for the Jet Surf team that is based there, Petr Poznik. 3rd in Czechia in the stock category 2022, 2nd in Turkey 2025, podium this year already, 4th in the Masters Championship 2025. Petr Poznik was looking very quick indeed earlier today. And he's joined out there by Jiří Renner, who's actually doing not just the Masters, but the Elite this year. Raced in the Open class through the 2022 and 23 competitions. And he's back into it again, is Jiří Renner. We'll talk a bit more about that when he goes into the Elite category at the end of the day. But fascinating to see him go back into it for the first time in a couple of years now. There's Petr Poznik, dialing himself in. And just off behind him, Jiří Renner, also trying to get himself into the zone and set the pace. It all comes down to good rhythm and good feel, which on this course, the riders have been telling me, is very difficult to achieve because all of the buoys are in very different angles to each other, so you can't really get into a bit of a flow. We'll talk about the long lap tomorrow. There you go, double left. Then this is the section that's really tricky, right and left, but every single radius is slightly different. It looks pretty easy to go left, right from your position, but think about this. You're on a board that's 20 kilograms in weight. You are getting about 15 horsepower or so from these boards. You've got to balance it. To get on the board is pretty challenging if you haven't done it. I tried, thanks courtesy to Nicholas and Jiří Blahar, who a few days after Prague allowed me to have a go on a jet surf for the first time. The results, not great if I'm honest. I loved it, I really enjoyed it. I now understand a bit more about what these boards can do. They are pretty quick, and power to weight ratio, they are a rocket ship on the water. Unfortunately, I tried to stand 3 times. All 3 times I ended up in the drink along with all the fishies. And there were quite a lot of them at that particular location. A massive thank you, by the way, to Nicholas and Jiří Blahar for giving me that chance. It won't be my last. I will be back to try again. So far, so good for Petr Poznik, a 53.3. That's a second away from the pace of Jiří Stavicek for the moment. And here comes Jiří Renner to finish off. He looks very quick. Let's see what Renner can do. Is it quicker? 53.1 for Jiří Renner, so he goes second fastest. Still Jiří Stavicek's time to beat. A 52.393 is the current benchmark. So close to the bank, the far side slalom on this course. Great to see everybody really pushing to the limit, but Petr Poznik looks like he could eclipse a 53.3 here. Out of the final buoy, can he go into the 52s? Poznik, yes, 52.9. That's good enough for second for Petr Poznik. What about Jiří Renner? Jiří Renner, 46 years of age for the Jet Surf base squad from Le Bem. Slightly leery, but he can actually gain a little bit of advantage by chucking his body weight back across that particular buoy and lining himself up for the next adjacent. Out of the final buoy, looks good. Is Jiří Renner going to go to second? He does, 52.892. Only beating Petr Poznik by 0.02 of a second. Fantastic pace from Jiří Renner. But the man they've all still got to beat is at the top of the table. Still, Yuri Renner and Petr Poznik get close, but not close enough to topple Yuri Stavacek. Two more head out onto the waves, though, for Poland and for Czechia. Number 3, Petr Faltisek for Jetsurf Pardubice, won in Croatia in 2025. There he is. He's the only man in history to defeat Kim Down in the Masters class, ever. There have been 13 Grand Prix, 12 of them have been won by the Korean. This is the only man who's ever beaten him to a Grand Prix victory. This is the 14th ever Masters Grand Prix. And Kim Down is going for lucky number 13. This is the only man, though, to have trounced him. He was second in Turkey earlier this year. Good boy. Just keep an eye on the proceedings, buddy. The other man out there, of course, is the Pole, Arkadiusz Janora, at the Tenzi Motorsurf Racing Team from Koźle in Poland. Second in the Masters World Championship last year. There he is, silver medalist in the Nations Cup section of the World Games 2025 as well. He goes into his first lap run. Big push from both riders now. Expect the unexpected. Can they go quicker than 52.393 from Yuri Stavacek? It is going to be very tricky to see who's going to get the best of this. Stavacek watching from the bank. He's powerless now. He's just got to hope that the 4 remaining riders do not eclipse his time. But you're looking at the 4 top riders in these 2 runs currently in 2026. Janora really pushing on the far side. Flying the flag for Team Poland. Running great guns. I was talking to Gregor of the Tenzi Motorsurf Racing Team earlier. He said, we're really excited about this one. The course suits all our riders down to the ground. Here comes Arkadiusz through the final buoy. He carries a lot of speed through the final buoy as well. Let's see the time, 52.31. Smashes his way to the top spot. Arkadiusz Janora, first flying run, and he's quicker than everybody. Great run from Janora. The pole goes top. What about Faltisek? He looked a little bit loose at the far side of the slalom. He's going to have to bring this back with a little bit of fluidity. I don't think this is going to be a faster time. It's not. 54.82. So it's not bad. But he could do with a little bit more. Arkadiusz Janora, though, 77 thousandths of a second quicker than Yuri Stavacek. Can he go even quicker on the second run? He's got to be thinking about that superstar Kim Down that's coming in the next group. Oh, a little bit of a drop off there in the middle of the slalom. That'll cost him a couple of tenths, I think. But he still carries a lot of speed out of the final buoy. What can he do? 52.31 to beat. It is a 53.0. He doesn't beat it. But I tell you what, that was pure determination from Arkadiusz Janora, who goes top. 52.316 for Janora. Is the final run going to be spectacular enough for Petr Faltisek? Final buoy, out through the right, across the line. Can he improve on a 54.8? He does, 53.7. That's good enough for P5. But by 77 thousandths of a second, it is now the Polish rider, Arkadiusz Janora, who has gone to the top spot. And then comes the king of the Masters. Kim Down, the rocket from Seoul. Stock World Champion 2022, Masters World Champion 24 and 25. 12 out of 13 Masters Grand Prix have been won by Kim Down. The man who joins him out there on the water is David Poznik, the 44-year-old from Pardubice. Raced in Poland and Croatia in 24, third in the Masters Championship in 25. A pair of podiums in Italy and Croatia last year. He always seems to go well in Croatia. Sadly, no Croatia on the calendar in 2026. But now you're about to see the master of the masters at work. This is Kim Down in his element, 42 years of age, the man from Seoul in South Korea. Boy, is this man hard to beat. Everyone knows that when he's in his A game, he is unstoppable. The nicest man in the world as well. You can't even begin to hate him as an opponent. He's too nice. So the two riders really starting to push themselves to the limit. Kim Down obviously going for the fast time. He wants to get a decent run. And Kim Down is properly pushing it. Meanwhile, I think David Poznik is just getting himself dialed in, ready for the run. He goes across the line now. There is David Poznik starting his timed run. 2 laps of the course, don't forget. Whichever one is the fastest is the one that counts. Got to make sure you stick to every buoy. Can't skip one. Meanwhile, Kim Down is just dialing himself in, ready for the push. He's going to go to the line. And now Kim Down will push to try and beat the time of Arcadia Sonora. 52.316 to beat. If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Kim Down. The Huski Wear Grand Prix of Sweden fight for pole position in the men's masters category is right here, out on the water in Stockholm. Through the slalom, bit of an upset in the balance there from David Poznik. Can he settle it before the end of the course? Out of the twists and turns. A little bit less commitment through that final buoy. We're going to see across the line. What was the time for Poznik? 53.43. Not bad from David Poznik. So he's within a second or so of the best time of Arcadia Sonora, but Kim Down is launching. He really is attacking every single buoy like they're biscuits out of the final couple of buoys. This is where it's going to get very tight. Across the line comes Kim Down. Is he top? Yes, 50.637. Massive from Kim Down. Almost 2 seconds clear of anybody else. It doesn't matter what Arcadia Sonora can do. It doesn't matter what Jiří Stavacek can do. Kim Down will destroy his opponents. The Korean, still the master of the masters. David Poznik P6, can he get any better than that? Across the line, the time was better. It is 52.86. Very good improvement there from David Poznik. That puts him up to P4. But was there ever any doubt at all that Kim Down wasn't going to be the best at his craft here in Stockholm? Out of the final buoy, it's 50.63 to beat. Can he go quicker? Not on this occasion, but he didn't need to. Kim Down nearly 2 seconds quicker, 1.67 better than Arcadia Sonora as Kim Down of Korea goes to the top of the Masters Men qualifying practice. He gets pole position for the Huski Wear Grand Prix of Sweden in the Masters Men category. Nobody can stop Kim Down. And let's be fair, this is his 3rd season in the Masters category. He's already won 2 world titles. He's only 42. He could be winning this title for the next half decade to a decade. All of those records could just tumble. He's just so good at what he does. And it doesn't change from location to location. He's so well prepared. No wonder he also competes in the stock category. But here at the Djurgårdsbrunnsviken, the Bay of Sweden, yet again, Kim Down is unstoppable in the men's masters category. Astonishing commitment. And he gets another pole position. Now we move from the men's masters to the women's masters. And that is going to be another interesting category in only the 3rd ever Masters Women Grand Prix in Moto Surf in the World Championship. For the moment, though, we'll just go through the provisional rankings. Kim Down taking the top spot in Masters Men ahead of Arcadia Sonora. Then it is Jiří Stavacek in 3rd position in front of David Poznik in 4th place. 5th position for Jiri Renner, who is on double duty, as I mentioned before. Petr Poznik looking solid in P6. Then 7th place for Petr Faltisek, looking fairly disappointed, I have a feeling, about that one. Michel Ular in 8th place. 9th position will go the way of Jaime Hincache, the Chilean rider. And 10th position will go the way of Roman Lischel Kratishvili, the Austrian. 11th position will be the returning Brian Leet. 12th position for Murat Jorgen Chile, the Turkish superstar. 13th place for Abraham Tibor of Hungary. 14th for Nikita Antonov. And then the final 2, in 15th will be Pavel Matoshka, in 16th, Andrei Atanasov of Bulgaria. And now to the Masters Women. For the first time in quite a while in the Moto Surf World Championship, the first return of the championship from the Lake Taps Jet Surf team. It is the 41-year-old from Seattle in Washington. Terza Sawangwan is back in the paddock once again. Great to see her returning. As soon as she heard that there was a Masters Women category, she said, it's time to return to the sport I love so much on the world stage. That was the whole purpose of the Masters Women category. So many of the women's elite are under the age of 25, and it's so difficult to keep up that stamina and keep up that pace. But Terza Sawangwan has decided it's time to stop being a mother for a weekend. Dad and youngest are back in Seattle in Washington. They're cheering her on from their sofa in America as Terza Sawangwan goes back into the Moto Surf World Championship once again here at the Huski Grand Prix of Sweden. And she's not the only one who's going to be out there on the water. She'll be joined by the 30-year-old Korean Kim Min-kyung. She'll be returning to the World Championship once again. And she, of course, is the wife of Kim Down. Second to Eunjin Lee at Sri Lanka in the Asian Championship 2023. Very talented rider in her own right. Great to see her back in the paddock once again. She is the youngest, I believe, in the competition. Only by about 3 weeks. So into the competition then for qualifying goes Terza Sawangwan. Let's see what the 41-year-old from Seattle can do. By her own admission, she says she knows she's not going to be as fast as the top competitors in the Masters Women category. She's not here to do that. She's here to enjoy herself, to have fun, to return to racing. After a long leave of absence, she gave birth to her youngest child last year, pulled out of racing. The whole family decided to take a break. And they've all come back into it again in 2026. And for Terza, this is quite an achievement. It's one thing to be a competitive athlete, but to go back to being a competitive athlete after giving birth once again, great return to form for Terza Sawangwan, and I'm sure her husband is going to be very happy indeed and very proud watching back home in Seattle. So great to see Terza Sawangwan back on the Moto Surf World Championship bill once again. They've got the Sea Fair coming up in Sebring, of course, in a few weeks' time as well. That's going to be a great event, and no doubt Terza will want to race there as well on her home soil. You know what they say in the Formula One movie, don't you? Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. Just stay upright. You may be one of the only ones to do it. It looks as though Kim Min-kyung is not actually out there on the water for this run, so maybe she's not electing to take to the qualifying. I wonder if she's got an issue with the board, whatever it might be. But Terza Sawangwan gets to run it alone, and it's a 1:20.251. It's a perfectly legal lap. She's learnt the course well. She's kept it in the buoys. And by her own admission, all I've got to do is just stay upright. I've just got to be calm, be smooth, be comfortable, not push too hard, get it round, and get the job done. So far, so good for Terza Sawangwan for the Lake Taps Jet Surf squad. We'll see her other son out on the water. We already saw Nico Sawangwan having a go in the juniors earlier on. And we'll get to see Ryder Sawangwan in the stock category a little bit later on in the day as well. But this is a great start to the Masters Women for Terza Sawangwan. Her first competition back in the championship for 2 years. And great to see her returning and just getting on with the job. You try and do this, having recently had another child. Very impressive indeed from Terza Sawangwan. The only person stopping you doing things is yourself. Out for the final buoy, across the line. Is it going to be quicker than a 1:20.2? It is, 1:18.3. Nearly knocks 2 seconds off her best. And that'll do nicely for the young lady from Seattle. So next up, it'll be the Cypriot, Ekaterina Antonova, and the Czech. I know, incredibly, it's the only class here today, except for the Electric Challenge, where there's only one Czech rider. The Masters Women will be represented in the second run by Ekaterina Antonova. The Cypriot made her debut in the motorsport, in the Moto Surf World Championship at Prague. She's a former jet ski racer in stand-ups. She'd only had 6 training sessions prior to that run. And here is Teresa Pekakova, another complete novice, made her debut in Prague. And now she gets to go out into the Moto Surf World Championship once again. She is also a mother and finds herself back into the world of moto surf. Well, what else are you going to do? find the adrenaline and go racing. Good for her. Excellent stuff as these fantastic athletes still find plenty of reason to find good reasons to push, good reasons to be competitive and be athletic. And of course, we'll get the top 2 riders in the championship at the end of this run as well. Jennifer Beckman of Germany and Eunjin Lee, the championship leader from South Korea. For the moment, though, it's time for Katarina Antonova and Teresa Bekakova. But the time to beat is a 1:18.319 in the Women Masters category. This is the newest class in the Moto Surf World Championship, only initiated this year. And it was because there were quite a lot of women who wanted to race but didn't feel they could be competitive up against all the teenagers in the elite women's category. When Eliska Maruskova became the youngest ever world champion at the tender age of 15 in 2023, it was the writing on the wall for many women who want to race in the Moto Surf World Championship but know that to try and compete with 15 and 16-year-olds is quite futile, especially for those who are 20 years more than that. But they still want to race and they still want to put on a good show and they still want to love the Moto Surf competition and be part of the World Championship. Well, the way to do that is to have this new class. A little bit wayward there from Ekaterina Antonova, but she's still dialing in the course. She said she's not quite sure what's the problem this weekend, whether it's with the board or whether it's with her, but something doesn't quite feel right. As for Teresa Bekakova, she's come into this as a complete novice. It was just a nice little hobby, a nice little discipline, and then she said, you know what, I may as well give this a go racing. Why not? Made her debut in Prague 3 weeks ago, and now she can't get it out of her system. And 2 right. Give it 11 years, and we may well see her child going racing in the junior category. Tends to be the way. Once the kids see what mum and dad are doing and they get the bug, they start racing as well. Ekaterina Antonova flying the flag for Cyprus this weekend. Out through the final buoy. Very nice and smooth. Finding a decent run. Is it going to be quicker than a 1:18.3? It's a 1:20.6 at the moment for Antonova, but that's the first run done. She can still find some pace on the second lap. Oh, and into the water, I'm afraid, has gone Teresa Bekakova, so that's the end of her first run. So she'll need to do a cleaner run on the second of her laps. Unfortunate for Teresa Bekakova, who of course is still learning on the job. You get a few training sessions, but the only way to make the real mistakes is to do it while you're trying to qualify in the Moto Surf World Championship. Not easy. So she'll get the chance to rotate, get herself lined up again for another push for the line, and she'll go again for a second qualifying run. But the first one, sadly, not going to be a competitive time for Teresa Bekakova. So she comes through. Not the lap she wanted. It will classify as a DNF because she didn't complete all the buoys. And now she goes into the second lap, hoping that this one is going to be faster. Without the fall, if the lap had been legal, with the fall, it would have been a 1:30. She could definitely go quicker than that. She knows she can. Ekaterina Antonova just doing her best to finish up. There is Teresa Bekakova really attacking the buoys again on the second flying lap run. And here is Ekaterina Antonova. Just one more buoy to execute. Run through, gets a tight trajectory. Across the line, the time to beat is a 1:20.6. She does it in 1:23.4 for the moment. So it is Terza Sawangwan who remains on the top spot for a few more seconds at least. We'll see if Teresa Bekakova can actually vanquish her time and go any quicker. We didn't see a lap at all from Kim Young-kung. So it'll all come down to whether Teresa Bekakova can finish this lap clean, out through the final 2 buoys, through the left, through the right. Lovely bit of apex there as she runs through across the line, and she goes a 1:04.07. So much quicker, 14 seconds to the good. So Teresa Bekakova, the fastest at the moment. But there are 2 more. Jennifer Beckman of Germany, and the championship leader, there she is on your screen. Eunjin Lee, the 38-year-old from Seoul for South Korea. Jennifer Beckman's already left our picture. She's gone through that quickly. There is Eunjin Lee, the woman who is afraid of water, would you believe? And yet she is the Grand Prix winner in Turkey and the Grand Prix winner in Prague. Arguably her greatest ever performance. She had to go against Miki Tori, who she had never beaten in competition before 3 weeks ago. And she went up against the original queen of moto surf, Aneta Sasharova, who made a return to competition 3 weeks ago in the capital of Prague. Sadly, she had to go back to being a mother again. That's why she's not with us on this particular occasion. Hopefully she'll be back. As Anjali just dials in, you've got to plug the cable into the throttle. It takes a few seconds and then the power feeds through and on you get. She's a very quick competitor, is Anjali. She was part of the elite women's category last year, consistently in the top 10. But the inclusion of the Masters women's category just takes the pressure off her a little bit. And she actually really likes having her own, not her own category, because there are other competitors out there with her, but it just gives a little bit more of the fun element back to those riders over the age of 30 so that they can compete again. Jennifer Beckman just getting herself warmed up. So too is Eunjun Lee. Look at the ferocity in which she attacks the buoys. I tell you what, there is something about the Masters from South Korea. Kim Down is the dominant force of the Masters men. Eunjun Lee is the dominant force of the Masters women. But there goes Jennifer Beckman, 37 years old, a lawyer by trade from Hamburg in Germany, represented Germany in the World Games last year, second in Turkey, second in the championship coming into this one as well. So let's see if there's another podium in the offing for the Moto Surf Racing Team Germany rider, the first permanent Team Germany rider in the women's category, Jennifer Beckman. A lot of hard work on this course. You've got to remember that this is a sport where there are no professional moto surf riders. They don't make a living from doing this. They've got to pay for this sport by working Monday to Friday in their profession. There is Eunjun Lee, works in radio broadcasting back home in Seoul. That's how she funds her desire to go racing in the World Championship. It's amazing in this sport. There are so many great people from so many different disciplines. We've got butchers, bakers, tinkers, sailors, and all sorts of the rest of them. Here's Jennifer Beckman working her way through out of the final buoy across the line. The time to beat is a 1:04.07. Can she manage that with the first time run? We're waiting to see what the time is from Jennifer Beckman. The time didn't flash up on the screen, so I wonder if there's an error there, but certainly for Eunjun Lee, attacking these buoys. I wonder if she's going to go sub 60. Certainly looking very confident as she comes up to the final two buoys. So Eunjun Lee really attacks the final buoy. Big amount of stride. Comes across the line at 56.0. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Up to the top spot on a 56.0 goes Eunjun Lee. Jennifer Beckman just looking to finish her run in fine style. But it looks as though it's going to be 3 on the bounce for Lee Eunjun. Jennifer Beckman very close to the bank because she's obviously taken the right side of the slalom. But not easy to get these rotations. You've got to remember as well that as much as you want to race, you also want to make sure you show up to work in Hamburg on Monday morning, don't you, Jennifer? You can only push so hard. You know your limitations. You want to race, but you also want to make it home. Across the line, a 1:08.4 for Jennifer Beckman. Good enough for third place. And so we have our ranking. Oh, as Eunjun Lee just strikes the buoy on the end. She puts her hand in the air. She knows that this isn't going to be a legal lap, but it doesn't matter. The first one was perfectly fine. And it's a 56.07 for Lee Eunjun. That is the pole position in the Women's Masters. No worries at all for Lee Eunjun. And that will do quite nicely as far as she's concerned. Pole position. Second place in the end for Teresa Bekakova. Not bad for a novice. Third place, Jennifer Beckman. Fourth position for Terza Sawangwan on her return. Fifth place for Katarina Antonova. And sixth for Kim Min-kyung, who did not manage to finish or even start, as it turns out, her run. So there's certainly more to do and more to talk about back home at base camp. And no doubt the racers will be doing so. There'll be a bit of a debrief between them all. There's also got a riders briefing later tonight. Now we go to the first round of 2026 for the Electric Challenge and the hopes of Sweden. On the screen in front of you, Alexander Lanner, the 20-year-old for Team Huski, going to battle not only in the electric challenge, but also in the stock category this week. And he will head out onto the course next to the man from Macau, Alan Ung Chau Hong, the man who proposed to his fiancée Irene at the Grand Prix of Fujairah last year. And this weekend, he's actually riding a movie board. We're so used to seeing jet surfs up and down the paddock, but that is a movie that he's going to be riding on, which is a Chinese brand. The big difference, of course, between the electric challenge competitors and the normal titanium boards and the race DFI boards is that they are considerably heavier than their counterparts. The titanium and race boards are about 20 kilograms in weight, while the electric challenge boards are about 35 kilograms in weight. They've got supreme power, so they'll go about the same top speed despite 15 kilograms more weight. But of course, because the board is heavier, it's tougher to navigate through turns than their titanium and race DFI counterparts. So it takes a little bit more time to go through the corners, so the lap times will be slower than the titanium derivative. But the electric challenge, which has a reduced program in 2026 compared to the normal petrol-driven boards, still give us plenty of entertainment. Sadly, the reigning champion in the electric challenge will not be with us for the rest of this year. Jano Vankersbilk, the Belgian talent who suffered an injury in qualifying in Turkey, and unfortunately it was bad enough that it pretty much put him out for the entirety of the season. If you're watching, Jano, we still miss you. You're still a very important part of our community. We miss you, and we hope that it won't be too long until you can return to us, either in spirit or in competition. Wonderful to see so many of the locals here in Stockholm really enjoying a very different spectacle on their normal turf. Everyone here who is from this area thinks they know the Djurgårdsbrunnsviken, the Bay of Sweden. Well, this weekend they don't. It's changed completely. It's now hosting athletic competition for the first time in 114 years, not since the 1912 Summer Olympic Games. Well, you don't need to translate that one. A little bit of a wayward moment in the qualifying laps then for Eunjin Lee, but it doesn't matter. Pole position in the Masters Women by quite a considerable margin. Yes, we are talking about you, Lee. We are talking about you, Lee Eunjin. Pole position, Masters Women. Don't worry, it was all good. It was all positive. And it's looking good for victory number 3 of the season. Alexander Lanner has found the missing part that needed to be sorted before he could go out for his qualifying run. 4 riders in the electric challenge. Alan Ung and Alexander Lanner will go out for the first run, and then the second will be Michel Ullard and Abraham Tibor, both of whom are also on double duty. But Alan Ung decided on this occasion he won't race in the Masters. He'll just focus on the electric challenge on this stunning board. Check it out. It is a Chinese brand, movie design, very different compared to the jet surfs that we're used to seeing. One rider happened to mention when he was showing it off in the paddock yesterday, it's like a miniature jet ski. Certainly has very cool dynamics underneath it. And of course, rather than having the 100cc engine that channels about 15 brake horsepower in it, it has an electric motor, hence why it is part of the electric challenge. Significantly heavier than the petrol-driven boards. The petrol-driven boards are 20 kilograms in weight. These are closer to 35 kilograms. Alexander Lanner just going through the motions. Another day, another wave. But this is a very special one to Alexander Lanner. It's Sweden, so he really wants to take a Grand Prix victory. And so he's going for 2 of them, one in the stock and one in the electric challenge. He's got a great chance to do it in the electric challenge, but he also has a great chance in the stock category. He got a podium in Turkey back in June. So the Swede, Alexander Lanner, with a great chance to win his home Grand Prix in 2 classes here this weekend. There he is, the 20-year-old, youngest man in the electric challenge field. This one is a bit of a demo run for him to a certain degree. This one's an exhibition class as far as he's concerned, but he would still dearly love to win it. And of course, it will get him set up, ready for the stock category. But on a circuit like this, you don't want to push yourself too hard. Look at Alexander Lanner, really waving to the crowd. Team Sweden, Team Huski wear. really enjoying being out on the course. So for the first Electric Challenge qualification run of 2026, it is the Macanese star, Alan Ng, the 42-year-old from the beautiful city of Macau, one of my favorite places in the entire world. It doesn't matter whether it's single-seaters, GT cars, karting or moto surf. The Macanese are crazy about speed, as of course is Alan Ng. Here we go then, the Swedish talent, Alexander Lanner, 20 years of age, going for glory in Sweden. Can he get the pole position in Electric Challenge? We'll find out. It'll feel slower to him than his normal stock board, but I tell you what, he's certainly going to be going for the victory here on home water in the glorious Huski, Brunnsviken, the Bay of Sweden. What a place to go racing. Well, it looks like he's worked his way out of the slalom. Alan Ng's going to come through and finish off the run. One of the only riders in the field on something a bit different, 107.5. Starts the ball rolling then on the movie design board rather than the regular jet surfs that we're used to seeing. Alexander Lanner working his way through. He's actually a very unusual rider, is Alexander Lanner. Most of the competitors in the field are goofy stance, which is right foot forward. He's actually left foot forward, which is known as regular. 59.0 for Alexander Lanner for the first run. Now, normally you only do that if you're left-handed or right-handed, but he has actually decided to go with it as a stance. I noticed the American riders as well, both Rada Sawangwan and Terza Sawangwan, actually the board came with it in regular start setup and they never changed it. They just learnt to ride with left foot forward. But normally you are goofy if you are right-handed, you are regular if you are left-handed. So through comes Alan Ng to finish off the second run, tidies up the slalom nicely, out through the final two buoys. And the maiden debut in competition in the Moto Surf World Championship for the movie design board. It's a 108.7 for the second run. Let's look back to Alexander Lanner. Here he is working his way out of the slalom. Oh, he's made an error there. So a problem for Alexander Lanner. I think the throttle linkage came out of the throttle handle. But it doesn't matter. Alexander Lanner still has a 59.02. He still hopes for the cheers from the sidelines. There's nothing like riding at home. More problems for Alexander Lanner. He can't even get it to the line. So he just dives under the waves. That's not quite gone according to plan for Alexander Lanner. But his first run was quick anyway, a 59.02. And that might be good enough for the pole position. Here's how he did it the first time, and there goes the throttle linkage. So that's how he suddenly falls. Because once the cable comes out of the throttle handle, that's it. You're not going to get any power. But the locals like it. 59.0, that might not be beaten. Here's the second incident of it happening. And again, same problem. Whoops. Into the drink goes Alexander Lanner. So graceful. Almost like a little wooden doll. But the 20-year-old from Sweden, very happy indeed here in Stockholm. The first run was a good one. The second one, they'll need to keep an eye on it because, of course, it might not be up to scratch ready for racing if that keeps happening. But certainly for the moment, provisional pole for Alexander Lanner, a 59.02 to beat. And there's only two men who can beat it, Michel Ular and Abraham Tibor, the Czech and the Hungarian. So out onto the beautiful Bay of Sweden, this glorious Huski, Brunnsviken, part of the King's own royal gardens. Fabulous location. Certainly worth coming and visiting if you ever get the chance. Fabulous backdrop. One of the few cities in the world to be unspoiled by conflict as well. I was learning a little bit about the history of the place from the organizers, and it is quite stunning to consider just how incredible this location actually is. There's a lot of surrounding museums in this part of the world as well. There is a fantastic museum on the far side of the course, just behind the Villa Lusthusborden. The Nordiska Museum, the Vasamuseet, which is a fantastic galleon in it that was recovered. It's 300 years old. It set off on its maiden voyage. It only made it about 6 kilometers before it started taking on water and sank about 30 feet down. It was rescued, salvaged, and then a museum was built around it. So it's worth going and having a look at the Wassermuseum if you get a chance. So Michel Hullard and Abraham Tibor setting off in quest to topple Alexander Lanner from the top spot. They've only got 2 laps to do it. If they don't manage it, well, they'll have to give chase to him in tomorrow's first race. But it looks like we could have a Swede on pole in the Electric Challenge competition. Whether we'll get a Swede on pole in stock, well, that's another completely different task. And Alexander Lanner has now gone straight off his Electric Challenge board in order to get himself ready for that challenge. He already had a podium in Turkey, so he'll be one of the last men out in stock. And that's the one he really wants. Pole here is good. Pole in the stock category is even better. For now, though, Michel Hullard and Abraham Tibor will quest after the Electric Challenge pole. They actually get to skip the last buoy. So for those thinking, hang on, he's missed a buoy. Well, in the Electric Challenge, they're allowed to in the last part of the slalom. So across the line comes Michel Hullard. He does a 1:03.5. I think that's a legal time because he only missed the final part of the slalom. The slalom is not moved, of course, for the Electric Challenge. That would take too long, but they're allowed to skip the last part of it in order to complete the run. There is the last part of the slalom. He skipped, and out he comes. So Abraham Tibor working his way through. That must be tough for Michel Hullard and Abraham Tibor in particular, as well as Alexander Lanner, because they've got to do 2 classes where the course is slightly different. Abraham Tibor, 1:05.209. That's good enough for 3rd place. So they've got to make up a lot of time if they want to topple Alexander Lanner from the pole position. You've still got to go through the motions. Are we going to see a Swede on pole here in Stockholm? Michel Hullard still trying to find that little bit of extra pace. They can miss the final part of the slalom, as I mentioned before. Out through the left, out through the right, to the line. The time to beat is a 59.029 of the 20-year-old Alexander Lanner from Sweden. Can Michel Hullard go quicker? 1:01.1. So he's 2 seconds away from the top spot. It's quick, but it's not quick enough. What about Abraham Tibor, the Hungarian? 3rd in the Electric Challenge Championship last year. Currently 3rd in the starting lineup. Can he get the top spot away from Alexander Lanner? He's got to work his way through the final part of the slalom. Out to the final 2 buoys. Left. Got to keep the power. Right. Tight radius. This is going to be a good one for Tibor. Is it quicker than he's gone? Yes, 1:02.6, but it's not enough. Alexander Lanner, pole position for Sweden in the Electric Challenge here in the Moto Surf World Championship. Great news for the local fans. They've got a superstar on the top spot. Alexander Lanner, pole position in Sweden in the Electric Challenge. Now, can he replicate it in the stock class coming up? A truly fantastic start then for the 20-year-old on home water here in the Huski Grand Prix of Sweden. But we go from the Electric Challenge to the Formula 2 of Moto Surf. It is time now for a very tough competition, the stock category. This is so unpredictable. Week in, week out, we never really know who's going to be on the top. In Turkey, the Grand Prix winner was Adam Kolar. 3 weeks ago in Prague, it was Lucas Kojon. Now we've got 16 riders going up to battle in the stock men's category. Riders Sawangwan, Thomas Stepanek Jr., Ringo Rimer, the local man, along with Adam Milovchik, then Vladimir Andel, David Zaplatilek, Ender Jorgen Schiele, Oliver Wolf, David Kjötska, Stepan Šimek, Josef Pokoda, Jan Matoška, Matjas Bardovic, another of the local favourites, Alexander Lanner, and then the 2 big names, Kim Down and Adam Kolar. This is going to be a very difficult qualifying session to predict. I certainly couldn't tell you who is going to be the one to grab the pole position just by guessing, because this is such a difficult run. Team Huski getting into the spirit of things here in Stockholm. The vibes have been here since yesterday. They are so delighted and so proud of being here. It's always wonderful to have a round of the World Championship, and Sweden has definitely delivered in fine style, just as they did in Bastad back in 2024. Now here they are again with another great battle. The stock pole position is up for grabs, and all 16 riders are ready to push. 8 runs, 2 riders each, 2 laps apiece, and it's going to be a very competitive run. Starting off with the 17-year-old from Seattle in Washington, the junior and hobby champion of the United States 2024, last competed internationally in the World Games qualifier in Fujairah in February last year. Ryder Sawangwan, 17 years of age, from the Lake Tapps Jet Surf squad. It'll be fabulous to see what he can do on his return to competition, and he's out there with Tomasz Szczepanek Jr. Made his debut in the stock rookie category 2 years ago, raced 3 times last year, raced 3 weeks ago at home in Prague. And they are the 2 men who have got to set the early benchmark in the UIM Motosurf World Championship stock category. Why is it called stock? Well, it's quite simple. You race it as stock. You buy the board, you get it out of the box, you do nothing else to it at all, you race it as it is. So the elite category, of course, we'll talk about that. You can make changes to it, but the stock category boards, they buy the boards, they race them as they are. They make no technical changes, no advancements whatsoever, and you race them as you bought them. So here we are, the 17-year-old from Washington in Seattle. The other way round, sorry. Seattle in Washington, whoops! Goodness me, Ryder Sawangwan getting the full stretch on his warm-up lap there. That is the nastiest way to fall as well. Tomasz Szczepanek Jr. warming up. Let's have another look at it. Look at the full extension. Goodness me. That will have hurt, because he would have gone in back first, and that would have stung a little bit for Ryder Sawangwan. I can now proudly say that I have fallen off a jet surf board 3 times in the last month. And I know exactly how difficult it is. The amount of bruises and sore parts of skin and cuts and bruises and all sorts of things that I had to face the next morning when I looked in the mirror. And down again in the slalom goes Ryder Sawangwan. Time to brush off all the cobwebs at once. Trying to get back on the board, but it's under the water, so that's not going to be easy. Here comes Tomasz Szczepanek Jr. So what can Szczepanek do? Oh, getting a little bit loose off that particular Buick. Oh, dear me. Off the turn they come then. Szczepanek does a 57.442. That shows you his determination nice and early. As Ryder Sawangwan stands back up on the board once again to get himself back up to pace. He gets himself into the run. His first run is a 137.4, but of course it doesn't count because he missed quite a few buoys on the way to do that. So the trick is to get a decent lap time in for the first run if you can, and then to push on your second run, but it's not always as easy as that. You've got to complete a run first and foremost. The wind is picking up again here in Stockholm. Not easy for the riders to cope with, but certainly for both Ryder Sawangwan and Tomasz Szczepanek, they want to find the best that they can out of this course. Szczepanek working his way out of the slalom, and we'll see if he can improve on his 57.442. Out comes the 19-year-old over the line, 57.9. He's only half a second off what he'd previously done. As for Ryder Sawangwan, he just wants to complete the course and get a clean run out of it. Out of the slalom, looking cleaner, looking tighter, looking smoother for Ryder Sawangwan. Final 2 corners for the 17-year-old from Seattle in Washington State. Out of the final turn, across the line, 103.6. Better in racing than in qualifying by his own admission. It's just about getting through the motions. He prefers racing. He likes to try and figure out where mistakes are going to come and then react to them. So he can start towards the tail, but we've seen riders in Motosurf this year start from 8th or 9th position and be leading by the end of the first lap. So it's still doable for all of the competitors out there. Qualifying is definitely not the same as racing. It just sets the tone for the weekend. The flags are flying down here on the shoreline of this beautiful Stockholm River. The fans are loving it, and too right. First sporting competition on this body of water for 114 years. Not since the 1912 Summer Olympic Games has there been a World Championship sporting competition in these waters. Certainly that we're aware of. If someone wants to correct me, then they're perfectly welcome to do so. But the contenders are getting ready for the second pair of riders to head out onto the course. There is Adam Milovchik, the Slovak, 17 years of age, the only Slovak in the stock category. Good to see him head out onto the course. And he is joined by the Super Swede, Ringo Reimer. for Team Huski, flying the flag for Sweden. 16 years of age, tough start to his stock discipline. This is his first season in the stock category. He was 9th in the Junior Boy Championship last year. Racing at home, full of confidence, full of exuberance and enthusiasm. Really wants to put himself up to the top spot. And it doesn't matter where you're from. If you race at home, you're always going to get that little bit of extra adrenaline. You're going to get that little bit of an extra push. And there's big talent in these young shoulders. Ringo Reimer with a big chance to give Sweden some big satisfaction in the early part of qualifying. The first task is to go quicker than his opponent, Adam Milovchik. And the second task is to go to the top of the timesheets. To do that, he's going to have to go quicker than Tomasz Stepanek did. A 57.7. 57.4, my apologies, was the fast time at the end. So the Slovak, Adam Milovchik, and the Swede, Ringo Reimer, who comes from right here in Stockholm, ready to go for the qualifying run. The fans are with him. Is the time with him? Over the line to start the qualifying run then for Ringo Reimer. He pushes to get himself up to the top spot in the stock category. 57.4 to beat. Really starting to attack these buoys with immense amount of strength. He's a very shy individual, very calm, very quiet, very calculated, but also very quick when he needs to be. And he's never needed to be more than racing here. He only lives a few miles away from this course. And this is the perfect start to his qualifying run. Here comes Adam Milovchik. He crosses the line to start his run. The only Slovak in the stock category. So he carries the honor of the flag for them. Ringo Reimer, working his way through the slalom, decides to stay away from the bank. The fans cheering him all the way. Got a big chance to go to the top of the times. He can have it in 2 laps. He can try and find it. It's a clean end to the run. Attacks the final buoy with aggression. What is the time going to be? A 1:02.9 for Ringo Reimer. He's got to find another 5 seconds, but the first run can be slow. The second run can be quicker. You've got to put a decent banker time down and then push. And you've got to remember that Ringo Reimer is still one of the most inexperienced of the riders in the stock category. He's got a big mission. Oh, and he's gone on the far side. That's unfortunate for Ringo Reimer. His best time then is going to be a 1:02.9. Here comes Adam Milovchik. He does a 54.326 and goes to the top spot. Here is the fall for Reimer. Oh, the front end of the board gets stuffed into the ocean, into the river, sorry, and that's it. Job done. Nothing you can do to save that. But still, the 16-year-old from Stockholm, all of the support from the fans. And he is another of those riders that usually goes better in racing than he does in qualifying. So as the fans on the stands will greet him through the slalom once again, he won't complete a faster time on this second lap, but the fans are with him anyway. He waves to the Stockholm faithful, and he'll bring it home to finish off. It won't be a legal time. He doesn't care. It'll do. And through comes Adam Milovchik. Can he go quicker? 54.326, the top time. Can he go faster than that? Not on this occasion. 0.7 of a second slower. So Adam Milovchik takes the lead in the stock category with a brilliant time. 3 seconds quicker than Tomasz Stepanek. 8.5 seconds quicker than Ringo Reimer, the 16-year-old from Stockholm, who gets to compete in the stock category at home for the first time. A very solid start then for the youngster, who only took part in a couple of rounds last year in Junior Boy. I think this is only his 5th career weekend in the Moto Surf World Championship, so not bad for Ringo Reimer. The next 2 out on the water are going to be one of the most experienced Moto Surf riders in them all, Vladimir Andel. The fans love Ringo Reimer. He's done a good job. He's sorted out the first task, which is qualifying. Tomorrow, the races can be very much more in his own hands. Consistency and good pace. His mission is to get to the final. And with 16 competitors, he just doesn't want to be in the bottom 4. Because the bottom 4 competitors at the end of tomorrow's 4th heat Sunday's fourth heat, I should say, will not be going through to the final. The winner of the final is the winner of the Huski Wear Grand Prix of Sweden. So there's a lot on the line in this one. And on a course like this, anything is possible. We're looking at 5 or 6 riders in the fight for pole position. I would say that it's probably between Mattias Bardevic, Kim Down, Jan Matoszka, maybe Josep Pokara or David Kuchka with a chance. Adam Kolar, of course, is in the mix, and of course, so is the home favourite, Alexander Lanner. So for the moment then, Vladimir Andel takes onto the water once again. The 40-year-old from Karlovy Vary. He's been racing in the stock category since Croatia 2023. The man knows this sport inside and out. And he's out there on the course with his young teenage countryman, David Zaplatilek. The young man from Jičín competed in Croatia in 2025 in the stock Rookie Merlin Plus before stepping up to the stock category in 2026. Both men trying to push it all the way. Vladimir Andel, 40 years of age. David Zaplatilek, 22 years his junior. Out through the slalom comes Vladimir Andel. Really working hard here to try and find the time that's good enough to beat Milovčić. 54.326 to beat. It's 60.05 flat. That's enough to put Vladimir Andel into third position. What about David Zaplatilek? Oh, he's gone! Zaplatilek buries the front of the board in the buoy on the right-hand side. So easy to do. These buoys are so close together. Half the board's gone in at a 45-degree angle. Nothing you can do to save that. Nothing you can do at all. You've got to feel for David Zaplatilek. That is not what he needed. So that's the first run thrown away. Hopefully the second will go better. But of course, if you bin both of your runs, then there's a chance for the other riders to pick up some pieces on you. So here comes Vladimir Andel. Smooth run as into the next run comes David Zaplatilek. Looking for another solid effort from the 18-year-old. Vladimir Andel got a 60.05. He crosses the line this time. Does he go any quicker? Waiting for the time to update. Oh, 60.06. He is 0.06 of a second slower on the second run. That is metronomic consistency from Vladimir Andel. As for David Zaplatilek, that first fall may have dented his confidence a touch. So he's just got to keep it smooth. Out of the left buoy, the double left, into the slalom. He goes left side because he doesn't want to be too near the bank. Keeps it nice and tidy. Tidy up the radius. That's better. Much smoother from David Zaplatilek. Very much improved. Tight radius on the left buoy. A little bit aggressive is needed on the right. That's perfectly fine across the line. What can Zaplatilek do? 56.92. Good enough for P2. 2.5 seconds back from Adam Milovčić. Good start. And so now we go into the water with another pair of very talented teenagers. The 17-year-old Ender Jorgenschieler for Turkey. Motosurf Turkish Open champion. Top 6 in Rookie Merlin Plus last year. And the youngest man in the competition. Oliver Wolf, 14 years of age from Brno. Has yet to turn 15 for the Autozentrum Vyškov Czech talent squad. Third in junior boy last year. Son of Jiří Wolf, brother of Sara. Very talented man. Was so disappointed at the end of Prague. He was happy. Well done, David Zaplatilek. That second run was very quick. And for Oliver Wolf, this is a chance for him and redemption. He doesn't want the misery of failing to qualify in Prague to linger. He just wants to get straight back on it here in Sweden and go for a decent run. He had 2 times disallowed. Very unfortunate. He would have been right up there without it. There is young Oliver Wolf, trying to dial himself in and get himself ready to push for the top spot. Top 3 in the junior boy category last year, fighting with the likes of Stanislav Kohut and Mattias Bardevic. Now he wants to push as the youngest man in the stock category, 14 years of age. He doesn't turn 15 until a couple of weeks before China. As for Ender Jorgenschieler, well, oh, it just goes away from him. Once the lean angle is 45 degrees and you're half in, half out of the water with the board, You can't salvage it. Look again. The board is buried. He can't quite get the balance. So it hasn't quite gone according to plan there, I'm afraid, for Ender Jorgenschieler. He's got another run to work, but the first run's gone. So now we're going to get to see if there's anything special from Oliver Wolf. There usually is. Very talented young man last year, put in some great performances in the junior category. And now he's in the stock, it's much tougher. But he seems to be rising to the occasion. This is really strong from Oliver Wolf. What can he do as he comes across the line? 53.16. What a way to respond for Oliver Wolf. After the misery of 3 weeks ago in Prague, he goes to the top of the timesheets here in the stock class with a flamboyant run. That's more like it, Ollie. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. That is how you come back in Moto Surf. You answer your critics with pure speed. Ender Jorgenschieler, he goes left side of the slalom to stay well clear of the bank. Tidy it up. Beautiful. That's nicely done from Jorgenschieler. Now he's going to come through the final two buoys, up to the final turn. We'll see what he can push up to the line. 53.16 to beat. Has he done it? 56.3. He can't quite get close enough. Third position. But for the moment, Oliver Wolf, the youngest man in the stock competition, is at the top spot. And with a beautiful time, 53.165. The 14-year-old from Brno can be so happy with himself after that. That is more like it. And so now we get two more very talented men to head out onto the water. 18 years of age from Valtice, David Kučka. Always a top competitor. Third in the Stock Rookie Merlin Plus title race last year. Returned to racing at Prague 3 weeks ago. Good to see him in the stock category. And alongside him will be the 15-year-old Stepan Šimek of the ACV MS Peugeot team from Železný Brod. He was 7th in the Junior Boy Championship last year. This is his first season in the stock category. There's already flashes of brilliance from him in the first two races of the year in Turkey and Prague. So I think we're starting to see something quite special coming from Stepan Šimek. Still a great young talent. But of course, there's always a lot of pressure on these men's young shoulders. They've got to deliver. You can't just come in with potential. You've got to live up to that potential. Always very difficult. And now Oliver Wolf really has thrown down the gauntlet to everybody else with a brilliant time, it has to be said. 53.1. If you consider that Kim Down in the Masters managed to get a 50.63, he's not going to go much quicker than that in the stock category because they're the same board. So that's a very good start for Oliver Wolf, and he's got 7 men behind him at the moment. So this is going to be a much more competitive weekend for Oliver Wolf. There's even a chance of a podium from that time. David Kučka setting off in pursuit. 18 years of age, really starting to put on a show or two here in Moto Surf. Up to the slalom. He goes for the tight side, right up by the bank. And he's missed the buoy. Oh, big disaster for David Kučka. Too much speed coming in. He actually had to bail out of that before he careened into the bank. He just carries way too much speed. He knows he's missed one buoy. It's upset him. And he dislodges. Any further on pace and he would have been straight into the reeds. He was very lucky, actually. That could have been very nasty. Stepan Šimek, meanwhile, he comes out of that pair of buoys and into the slalom. He does go close to the bank. This is how you do it. The riders were telling me this is not about speed. This is about intelligence. This is about rhythm. The fast rider is not going to be the successful one. It's going to be the intellect that wins on this course. 54.682 for Stepan Šimek. He's already a second and a half away, and that was only the first run. And now it's all going to be about trying to get it back together again for David Kučka. He really wants to try and salvage something. And it looks as though that's a fall for Stepan Šimek. Well, there goes the second lap. Start of the lap. Oh, that's an angle you'll never come back from. Once the back starts to fight the front of the board, good night. You're in the drink. They did say going into this weekend, the riders were telling me a lot of people will make a lot of mistakes. And it looks like David Kuchka is finally trying to dial in this second run. But I'm afraid there will not be a second run from Stepan Šimek. Straight back to the shore. He knows he's not going to get a second run out of this, as David Kuchka sets off in pursuit of that second run. So here comes Kuchka. It looks as though the timing line has been triggered a couple of times there, but it's okay. The competitors know. Oh, he's missed it again. Oh, David, a double non-run. He does not set a time. And I'm afraid that puts David Kuchka at the back. Very disappointing. He'll be 10th. And 10 competitors went out thus far. 6 to go. This is starting to look even better for Ringo Rimer. If we get a couple more mistakes from the other riders, he'll be through to the top 12. Of course, the stocks will be put into 2 groups of 8 into the heats tomorrow. But the home fans have got something to be positive about here. Looks like both men have got a decent chance of a top 5 result several times tomorrow. Out onto the water then goes the workout land rider, Josef Pokora. And there is Jan Matoška, the 22-year-old from Riceni, the FG Forest Racing rider. Raced twice last year, hopeful of a full-time campaign in 2026. He only competed in Fujairah and Čežme last season. As Josef Pokora and Jan Matoška get themselves dialed in, ready for a push at that time of Oliver Wolfs. Very impressive, 53.165. A lot to be happy about there for the 14-year-old from Brno. He's now got 9 riders behind him in the ranks. That's a time that might not get beaten in stock. Depends on what happens over the course of the laps. But here comes Josef Pokora for workout land. Both his board and his shirt are in the Rexy colour scheme that we see in the world of sports car racing in GTs. We've seen a couple of cars in Rexy livery. It's pretty much a Porsche exclusive brand. But as Porsche has a lot of strong reputation in various parts of the Czech Republic, the Rexy livery is on his board and his shirt. Josef Pokora raced in junior in Croatia 24 and in Italy and Croatia in stock rookie in 2025. Now stepping up to the stock class as the Rookie Merlin Plus category no longer runs in the World Championship. But Josef, the 16-year-old from Stalavi, really has stepped up to the plate in 2026. He's raised his game because he knows he's needed to. 52.9! 52.9 for Josef Pokora. His first lap on the course, and he goes up to the top spot. Lovely job from Josef Pokora. Now it's up to Jan Matoška. What can the 22-year-old from Riceni do? So everybody watching back home in Riceni are going to find out if Jan Matoška has what it takes to get to the top spot. 53.5, there's room for improvement there. He's only got to find 6/10. Now we're at the business end of the stock category. And you're going to see some really tough battles now from all of the contenders. They're really going to start to dig deep and find some magic. As Josef Pokora wants to find even more. 52.9 to beat. He's really attacking these buoys. Finds great confidence. Out of the final turn, is it quicker? 52.43. Magic from Josef Pokora. So he goes to the top spot. Josef Pokora leading the way. But what about Jan Matoška? If he can find a second, then he is going to be very close. Trying not to stuff the board into the front end of those buoys. Matoška needing to attack. It might be quicker than he's gone, but I'm not sure it's quite going to be enough to topple Pokora over the line. The time comes through. It's a 54.2. It's not quicker. So for the moment then, it is Josef Pokora who leads the ranks. Into the water goes the reigning junior boy world champion, Matthias Barvik, the 15-year-old, and he's joined in the water by the 20-year-old from Sweden, Alexander Lanner, going for pole position in the stock category for Sweden. So it's time to see if there is going to be a bit of a Swedish upset here in Stockholm. If ever there was a time for Alexander Lanner to pull out some magic, it's here in front of his home crowd. So Mattias Barvik is out there on the water with him. The 15-year-old, there he is, reigning world champion in junior boy last year from Svedeka. Did such a great job last season. Alexander Lanner waving to the crowd. Come on, give me some support. I'm going to need it. I need the adrenaline. If I'm going to beat the likes of Adam Kolar and Kim Down in this fight for pole position, I'm going to need something special. Bring me the magic. Mattias Barvik is attacking to find the magic. Such an impressive run in the junior boy category last year. I've been talking to him a few times in the first part of this year. He said he's never had to work harder than to try and run at the front of the stock world championship category. It's like IndyCar on the waves. And here comes Alexander Lanner now to attack for the second time in the last hour. Only this time it's not an electric challenge board. It's the one he knows best, the stock class. Here comes Barvik. Near side slalom. So near to the ragged edge, but he finds the balance, he finds the control. Barvik is trying to push to get faster than Pokora. 52.436 to beat. What can Barvik do? Over the line, 51.84 from Barvik. Brilliant from Mattias Barvik. Finds another half second. But what about Alexander Lanner? The electric challenge pole position is in his pocket. Can he make it 2 out of 2 in the stock category? He's had a little bit of an upset in the first part of the slalom. So maybe the first run is going to be the banker. He needs to push it. Here comes Lanner over the line. What's the time? It's a 54.6. He needs to build on the second run. You can have a slow first run and then a quick second run. But Mattias Barvik wants to dominate. His third ever weekend in the stock category, and he's found half a second on Pokora, 1.3 on Wolf, 1.6 on Matoshka. Can he find any more in the second run? It looks magnificent. Over the line from Barvik. Oh, he's 1,000th of a second slower than his previous best run. That is unbelievable consistency from Barvik. He immediately looks like the new favorite for this weekend here in Sweden. But what about the man from Sweden, Alexander Lanner, out there on the water, trying to find enough to go for pole. Out of the slalom, it looks better, it looks stronger, it looks more vapid. Out of the final buoy, is it enough for Lanner? Over the line, 54.2, it's quicker, but it's not enough to go top. 5th position for Alexander Lanner in the stock category. He celebrates with an airborne jump. He's happy, the fans are happy too. Great entertainment for Alexander Lanner and the fans here in Sweden. He and Ringo Reimer definitely up for some good racing tomorrow. But as Alexander Lanner falls in to the legendary Svinsbrücken, the first Swedish competitor to run in the top 5 of a sporting competition in the Svinsbrücken for 114 years. Not since the 1912 Summer Olympics have these waters graced professional world championship sporting competition. And what an opportunity for Ringo Reimer and Alexander Lanner. But there are still 2 men to go. Mattias Barvik is provisional pole with an amazing time, 51.840. But there are 2 men who could topple him. The current championship leader, 15 years of age, from Brno, for the La Cucina Nera team. The winner in the Turkish Grand Prix 2026, the twin brother of Barbara Kolarova, 4th in Stock Rookie Merlin Plus 25. It's Adam Kolar, the next big rocket ship in the stock category. And the man who is the stock world champion from 2022 and the 2-time Masters world champion, 42 years of age from Seoul. It's that man again, the rocket from Korea, Kim Down. Can either of these men beat the time of Mattias Barvik? In the Masters category alone, Kim Down did go quicker than that. He did a 50.6 in Masters. So in stock, if he can get a 50.6 again, that's going to be hard for Adam Kolar to beat. Could the Korean get 2 pole positions in a row? He's had a bit of a difficult spell in the stock class so far, has Kim Down. Is Sweden going to be the chance to turn the tide? Kim Down has not looked like a Grand Prix winner in the stock category thus far in either Turkey or in the Czech Republic. Is Sweden going to be the country that changes that for Kim Down? Adam Kolar going out to push as well. He's dialing himself in for his first qualifying run. Kim Down attacking these buoys with determination. There goes the championship leader, the winner of the Turkish Grand Prix. Adam Kolar, championship leader, going for it. Now Kim Down through the slaloms. So close to that buoy. Has he actually missed it? I'm not sure. It was very tight to tell. That would have been a millimetre or two in it for Kim Down. He comes off the turn. He knows he's got another run straight away after it. Across the line, what's the time for Kim Down? 51.9, a fraction of a second slower than Barvik. So he's got to tidy it up on the second run and find another 1/10 of a second. It's going to be so tight. Here's Adam Kolar. Again, looking very smooth indeed in the slalom. He's so good in the slalom sections in qualifying. Out through the final turn, gunning for the pole position. What can Adam Kolar do? Is it quicker? It is! 50.09! 6/10 of a second quicker than Kim Down managed in the Masters qualifying. The fastest time of the day. I don't think we're ever going to see anything as close as that in the stock category today. Kim Down is the master, we know that. But surely he's not going to find more than that in this final run. It's the push to the line. Kim Down, what does he do? He's done a 50.6 before, it's 51.4. It's game over. Adam Kolar has pole position in stock by a whisker over 50 seconds. Can he find even more on the second run? All he's got to do is find 92 thousandths of a second and he'll go sub 50 for the first time today. Across the line, what does he do? It's 50.6, it's not as quick, but Adam Kolar lays down the gauntlet for everyone else. 50.09, the fastest time we've seen all day from the 15-year-old from Brno. Magic from Adam Kolar. I tell you what, this championship title is starting to look like a reality for Adam Kolar. Next year, he will have to go up to the elite. It'll be expected of him. Phenomenal pace as Adam Kolar gets the pole position in the Huski Grand Prix of Sweden stock category. Fabulously done. Second place, just behind him for Kim Down, 1.3 seconds. Mattis Barvik is third. Josip Pokora is fourth. And then it's Oliver Wolf in fifth position. What a return to form for him. In front of Jan Matoszka. Then Alexander Lanner for Sweden is seventh. In front of Adam Milovcik. And then Stepan Šimek, Ender Jorgen Schiele, David Zaplatilek, Thomas Stepanek, Vladimir Andel, Ringo Reimer, Ryder Sawangwan, and the one man who failed to set a time, Jan Matoszka. Sorry, no, it was not Jan Matoszka. My apologies. The one man who didn't get to set a time in the end was David Kuchka. Both of his times were not legal. And so, the two main categories in the Moto Surf World Championship, the elite classes, the Women's World Championship and the Men's World Championship. Bring it on. This is going to be a very interesting weekend on the water here in the Jørsgaards Vinsbrücken. None the least because this weekend is going to be the first in the Moto Surf World Championship's recent history without Eliska Matuskova. She will not be here. And so, the 11 riders that will go to battle will be Klara Meshalarova, Sara Wolfova, Emma Stryczelova back from her appendicitis, Natalie Kashnikova, Linda Lukscheider, Rosalia Janora of Poland, then Lona Markova, Adela Ostrolova, Barbara Kolarova, Aneta Shtukalova, and the championship leader, Sara Zuborova. That is the order they will head out onto the water. And we will start the ball rolling in the women's category with Klara Melisharova. She'll go out onto the water alone. What a strange weekend this already is without Eliska Matuskova, who has done everything there is to do in women's moto surf. Junior world champion in 2022, I believe it was, in fantastic fashion, and certainly proving that she still has what it takes in the major. She was the Junior World Cup champion, in fact, in 2021. Youngest ever women's world champion in 2023, then backed it up with the 24 and 25 world titles and the gold World Games medals in both the single women's discipline and the Nations Cup discipline as well. But sadly, not part of the fixture list for this weekend, which means that for the elite women, they've all got to try and take on Sara Zobanova to see if they can vanquish her. And she told me this morning that this is the toughest course she's raced on in recent times. That sounds like game on to me. First of all then, Klara Milišarova, the 21-year-old from Opice. She made her debut in Croatia in 2023, returned there 2 years later, raced at Prague last month. So this is only her 4th time racing in the World Championship. And what a place to do it. The Huski Grand Prix of Sweden, here on the beautiful river of Stockholm. Oh, very nearly into the drink. Klara Milišarova very well saved there. Good work. Any other rider would probably have gone face first into that and never come back. That was beautifully recovered by Klara Milišarova. And so the elite women's world championship fight for the Huski Grand Prix of Sweden begins with Klara really trying to find her feet for the Jet Surf HK team. I'm not sure whether it's an advantage to be out there on your own or not, but certainly this is a tough course. Look how close to the bank they get in that part of the slalom. You can see how difficult the radiuses are to tidy up. You've got to take a wide berth if you're not confident. So Milišarova opens the board with a time on the board of 1 minute flat, 0.05. So that's the benchmark for everybody else, including Klara, of course, because she gets to do 2 runs around the course. Fastest time of the entire day thus far is Adam Kolar on a 50.091. What are the elite men going to come up with? That's going to be fascinating. So through comes Klara, much tidier this lap, much more smooth. Has just got to keep finding those radiuses in the buoys. So it's got to keep finding that determination. Leans into the double buoy on the way to the slalom. Close to the bank again. Now just slow down the pace a little bit. That's not quite enough for Klara Milišarova. Unfortunately, the front of the board went in, and that was enough. Trouble is, this slalom, you actually have to slow the pace down a little bit if you're going to get the most of it. There it is. That's the moment it goes. It just happens so slowly for Klara Milišarova. So her time is going to be a 1 minute flat, 0.051. That opens the board on the Women's World Championship qualification. She doesn't finish the run, and so that will be her time. 10 seconds off the best we've seen all day for Adam Kolar in the stock category. Now to 2 more very talented riders with a lot of experience behind them already. Sara Wolfova, the 20-year-old from Brno, daughter of Jiri Wolf, competitor in the elite category, studying art at university, has competed since Jadar in 2021. And there is a welcome return, Emma Stručilova for Jet Surf Slovakia. She actually missed the last round of the championship in Prague due to appendicitis, but she's back. 4th in the Women's Championship 2025, Junior Girl World Champion 2023, and at 18 years of age, a real threat to the competitors in the World Championship for women. If she's got a chance to bounce back, a victory in this Grand Prix would be a massive tonic for her. So she's only going out early because, of course, she's low down in the championship. That is because she missed the last round in Prague. But if Emma Stručilova gets the kind of lap we know she's capable of, and it all goes according to plan, none of the other riders might beat her. Emma Stručilova is that kind of personality, that kind of charisma. Here she is, the number 33, one of the only 2 riders in the competition, flying the flag for Slovakia. As in goes Sara Wolfova. Perhaps doesn't quite have the time and the focus to commit to this as much as some of the others in there, but then when you're at university and you're in the middle of your final year art project, you do this because you love it. So you have a lot of fun with it, but perhaps the motivation to be world champion isn't quite the same for Sara Wolfova. Got to remember, there are no professional moto surf riders. You do this as your passion and your pride and your excitement. It is your sporting vocation. But like so many Olympic and World Games disciplines, you've got to earn a living Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, if you want to pay for it. Emma Struchalova pushing hard to try and get a time worthy enough of pole position and a time that might not get beaten by anybody else. Through the slalom, close to the bank for Sada Volfova. And she's slowed down her pace in the slalom. That gives her a little bit of time to react to the change of direction. When the buoys are so close together, you actually have to be a little bit more calculated to try and turn the board in. So Volfova comes through, and it's a 1 minute 2.4. It's slower for the initial lap. But again, you just need to lay down a banker and then go for it in the second. Here's Struchalova. Expect a bit more speed and a bit more aggression. Really attacking. Emma Struchalova going fast here. This could be a sub-60 straight out of the block. Out through the slalom. Final part of the lap. And across comes Emma Struchalova. What is the time? It's going to be a 55.3. Emma Struchalova easily out in front. And with an absence of Eliska Maruskova and the hesitation of the like of Aneta Stukalova and Sada Zuborova in practice, that might be enough. We'll have to see what Aneta Stukalova and Sada Zuborova can make of it in their qualifying run at the end of the line. But certainly Emma Struchalova is a very fierce competitor. We know what she's capable of. That could be a pole lap. If she goes any quicker, then it might put it to bed. Here comes Sada Volfova, much quicker on the second run. What's the time? 1:01.9. That'll do. Good opener for Sada Volfova, but what about Emma Struchalova? We want to see the end of her push. She's in the slalom. It's a little aggressive still, but it needs to be if she wants to go quickest of all. Tidies it up. Gets the balance back, cuts through the final radius across the line. Is it quicker than a 55.3? It's a 59.9. There were errors earlier in the lap by the look of it. And so Emma Struchalova rests on a 55.38. And so to the water, two of the most celebrated and popular personalities in the paddock. Natalie Kashlikova and Linda Lukscheider. Two riders that have been part of the MotoSurf family for the best part of the last decade. Natalie Kashlikova has competed in the World Championships since its inception in 2022. Her last podium finish in the women's category at Elite was back in Kazan in 2021, 5 years ago. But then she's been balancing her professional vocation with her racing vocation. She is actually a doctor of dermatovenerology. That's skincare to you and me. And Linda Lukscheider, the 20-year-old out there for the Twinsy team. She is an ambassador for the brand. They specialize in swimwear and surfwear. She's competed in the women's class every year since 2022. She was second in the Junior Girl World Championship race to somebody called Eliska Maruskova. She was fifth in the women's class 23, sixth in the women's class 24. Still top 10 last year. Still very quick, still very competitive. And the 20-year-old from Rozdrovica will never be one to count out in the elite women's category. So here comes Dr. Kashlikova. Let's see what the doctor can serve up. Across the line goes Natalie into the flying lap. She's got two of them in her pocket. Both Natalie Kashlikova and Linda Lukscheider, very fast racers on their day. And Sweden might just be the game changer. This is the kind of course that celebrates and rewards intellect rather than pure speed. Pure speed isn't enough. You've got to be clever. You've got to be smart to make this work. And you've got two very intelligent young racers out there on the water. Here is Linda Lukscheider trying to push herself back into the top three. Picked up a lot of silverware over the years in the junior categories as well as in the elite women's. Would dearly love to pick up the pieces and get a prize on her shelf here in Sweden. So Kashlikova just taking it nice and calmly through the slalom. Out of the slalom without any real skip of a beat. Looking very competitive, very composed. In the 60s is what we want. 58.1, good start. There's more where that came from Natalie Kashlikova. She can save at least a second off that. Here's Linda Lukscheider. Still loving the life as a MotoSurf racer. Well aware of the fact that these young whippersnappers are starting to creep in. That seems almost wrong to suggest when Linda is only 20. But like many other sports in the world of athletic discipline, It's all the teenagers coming in and spoiling the party. Here comes Linda Lukescheider over the line. What's her time going to be good enough for? It is a 59.9, so they're fairly comparable, those two. Both quicker than Klara Melishakova. Apologies, both quicker than Melisharova, I should have said. So now Kashnikova just finishing off this final lap of the second two. Out she comes, looking for the line. Is it going to be under a 58.185? It's a 59.5. So it remains her best time then, a 58.1. Good enough for second. What about Linda Lukescheider? Starting to attack the buoys with a little bit more aggression. Got to be so careful when you've not got a lot of time to go between the two buoys in the slalom. Not easy to pick a rhythm here. But she's worked her way through the slalom very calmly indeed there. Up towards the final buoy, out through the right. And Linda Lukescheider, can she beat a 59.9? Yes, a 58.9. That's a lot quicker. And so Kashnikova and Lukescheider get under the 59-second mark. Both very impressive runs. Now we go to a pair of super teens. The Polish rider Rosalia Janora and the rocket racing star Lotta Markova. So the 16-year-old Pole from Kozi, silver medalist at the World Games 2025 in the Nations Cup event for Poland. And then the 17-year-old from Radvanica, Lotta Markova, for rocket racing. Debut in the juniors back in 2023, third in junior girl 24, and top 10 in the championship for the women's elite on her maiden season, 2025. So these two definitely hoping for some good results here in Sweden. Both have got close to the mark in 2026, but have had a lot of bad luck, it has to be said, both riders, in both Turkey and in Prague. And they would certainly like to get a little bit more out of this weekend if they can. So it's certainly going to be an interesting one to see if they can bounce back from it. Looking forward to an exciting challenge, and all of the riders know that it's going to be tough to beat at the sharp end of the dais. These phenomenal female competitors. So Rosalia Janora and Lotta Markova going for the big push. Here is Markova. Still in only her fourth year of Moto Surf World Championship competition. And here comes Rosalia Janora. The biggest smile, the biggest determination, the most charismatic pusher in the whole paddock. Really determined to find even more pace and even more passion. The youngster from Poland. What a pivot on the slalom there from Lotta Markova. Almost unnatural the way she changes direction. Fabulously done, riding the ragged edge of what she can do. And as Markova goes across the line, what's the time going to be? It's a 55.331. She goes top by 55 thousandths of a second. She's outpaced Emma Struchalova. That's really impressive from Markova. Leaning on the ragged edge in the slalom. She can be really happy with that. Struchalova is not an easy rider to beat. And so Lotta Markova goes provisional top. What about Rosalia Janora? She looks pretty hungry through the slalom as well. Out of the final buoy, full of aggression. Can she go quicker? 56.7. She's in the fight, but she's got to make up another second and a half. So for the moment, Lotta Markova is on top. Very good performance from her thus far. And again, she's just got that beautiful pivot in the slalom. Oh, nearly loses it. What a save from Markova. That is as close to going in the drink as you can go without tumbling in. But has that cost her any time? Out of the line, 55.6. It cost her a couple of tenths of a second. But fair play to Lotta Markova. That's the best I've seen her ride in 2026. When it mattered. Here's Janora. Again, aggression, too much in the slalom. A good effort from Rosalia Janora. And Rosie knows. Just too much. Gave it everything. Pushed hard. There's the moment. The board stuffs in. A good 60% of it went in. She tried to balance it. Too much of the board has gone in at that point. And Rosalia Janora resigns herself to third position. Not a lot she can do about it. And so, a good effort, a very good effort from Rosalia Janora, but not quite good enough on this occasion. But there's still more to come. And still more battles await us, because we've got 4 riders left to try and take the pole position away now from Laura Markova. And so now it's up to Adela Ostrolova and Barbara Kolarova. They're going to push to see if they can get up to the top spot. And so we'll try a little bit more trickery to see if there's any more to come from these flamboyant competitors. But 4 riders left to push up to the top spot. So through the buoys on the far side, Adela Ostrolova, the 20-year-old from Hornima Stunica, made her debut in Croatia 2023. Top 10 in the Women's Elite Championship last year, currently P5 in the standings. This is her best season so far. She's about to make her 12th start in Motosurf's World Championships. Really making big strides. And considering that she's 20, she's got riders 4 or 5 years her junior, and she is still so strong in 2026. It's like she keeps finding more. And in amongst her is Barbara Kolarova, born on the same day as her twin brother, Adam Kolar. She is 2.5 minutes older than him. And now we're trying to see what kind of times they've come up with. Ostrolova comes up with a 54.310. That's enough to go quicker by a second. So Ostrolova takes the lead. A great season she's having. Adela Ostrolova goes into the lead. So what can Barbara Kolarova do? Only 15 years of age, Barbara Kolarova. An amazing term of form from her thus far in her career. 5th in the Women's Elite Championship last year, 4th in Junior Girls the year before that. Still in the infancy of her motorsurf career. Can she go top? Yes! 53.95! Brilliant from Kolarova. 4/10 to the good. And so these two are still pushing for the top spot. Adela Ostrolova could still find some more. Through the final buoy, leaving nothing on the table. Can she go quicker? Oh, she's only 16 thousandths of a second slower. There's nothing in that at all. Here comes Kolarova. 53.95 to beat. And there's a chance that that might not get beaten by either Zuborova or Strukalova. So here comes Barbara Kolarova. This is the chance to really go for the top spot. Here she goes. Final few buoys out of the slalom. It's really fast from Kolarova. She really loves this course. It seems to suit her style. And does the time reflect that? 53.548. That might be the pole position lap in the women's class. But do not count out the 2 that remain. We have Aneta Stukalova, the 22-year-old from Putsov, European champion, 5 times vice world champion. And along with her, we have the 15-year-old from Motoshop Zubor, Sara Zuborova of Kostiviashka, 3rd in the Women's World Championship last year, bronze at the World Games in Chengdu last season, 2nd in the Junior Girl 2024, has won the last 3 Grand Prix in a row. Can she make it 4 here in Sweden? The first mission is to bag the pole position. But after the time from Barbara Kolarova of 53.5, that's going to be tough to beat. Very tough to beat. And so we're left with the last 2 superstars. The elite women's category pushing for glory. So now there is a continuation for these 2. They get to work themselves up to a crescendo. Aneta Stukalova for the Jordak Racing team. chance to shine. With the absence of her longtime rival, Eliska Maruskova, this could be Anetta's time to step up and go for it. And Anetta and Eliska have a really great friendship. But on the water, there are no friends. Here is the current force of 2026, Sara Zuborova. 3 Grand Prix victories in a row that started at Macau at the end of last year and has carried on to Turkey and Prague. Now here in Stockholm, she wants to go for it again. Stukalova attacking the slalom on the bank side. This looks quick, very quick. Stukalova comes out of the final 2 buoys. Will the European champion formally come through to get the top spot? 53.155! Aneta Stukalova, top spot. But what about Zuborova? She's going to need to go to the 53.0 mark if she wants this pole. Out of the slalom. Zuborova was a little bit on the back foot this morning. Has she been able to find her form? Out of the times, as she comes through, 53.2, there's a 1/10 of a second in it. Zuborova needs to find another 1/10. The battle for pole positions going down to the final run. Aneta Stukalova and Sara Zuborova, the Czech versus the Slovak. And they're pushing right to the wire in the slalom. Stukalova trying to find that little bit more. Aneta pushing, trying to get that little bit more out of herself. Sara Zuborova attacking on the far side. Here's Stukalova at the line. Is it quicker? Not quite. It remains on a 53.1, but can Sara Zuborova find 0.11 of a second? If she can, she'll grab the pole away from the 5-time vice world champion. Here comes Sara Zuborova, 3 times a Grand Prix winner. Can she get the pole in Sweden? Over the line. Is it enough? No, it's not. Aneta Stukalova is pole position in Sweden. Fabulous run. Sara Zuborova's done everything she can. She literally pushed everything she had in herself and the board. But the reigning vice world champion, Aneta Stukalova, has taken over here in Sweden. And now the elite riders are getting ready to go out onto the water. And so for the Jordak Racing team, the #1 in the elite women's category once again, after a long leave of absence from the top spot, is Aneta Stukalova. Pole position in Sweden. And totally deserved. What a fantastic run from Aneta Stukalova. The elite men will head out onto the water next. And it'll be Jiri Renner, Jiri Wolf, Jan Travnicek, Miroslav Kups, Mike Michailidis, Anthony Squire, Adam Ficek, and then the big 3, Alex Lukscheider, Lukas Zahorsky, and the reigning world champion, Matthias Novotny. The final qualification here in Sweden on the gorgeous, tranquil landscape here in glorious Stockholm on the Djurgårdsbrunnsviken, the Bay of Sweden, host of the water sports of the 1912 Summer Olympic Games. There has not been a professional World Championship competition on the water since then. What a way to return with the Huski Wear Grand Prix of Sweden here in the UIM Motorsurf World Championship. Round 3, 2026. After the Turkish-style Grand Prix of Çeşme, round 1 back in June. And last time out, of course, the Grand Prix of Czechia in Prague 3 weeks ago. The story continues as we get ready for the next battle. It's the elite category. The Formula 1 of Motosurf in the men's class. So the elite riders, formerly the open category, are kicked off by 2 men who certainly know their craft. Jiri Renner and Jiri Wolf. They may have the same name and the same ambition. These 2 are very different characters. Jiri Renner, who is also competing in the Masters class this weekend. There he is. The 46-year-old Philibem raced the Open class in 22 and 23, returned to Masters in the Italian Grand Prix last year. This is his first time in the elite category since Croatia 2023. And as for the other man in the equation, the man on your screen right now is Jiri Wolf from Brno, 5th in the elite championship last year, has competed in the Rally Schlienbaum as a rally driver over a dozen times for Skoda and Seat over the last decade and a half. When he's not rallying, he's moto surfing. And so these contenders have still got so much to do in the fight for pole position in the elite category. The fastest lap time of the entire day has come from Adam Collar, the 15-year-old for La Cucina Nera, 50.091. Can any of the elites duck under 50 seconds? This isn't about speed, it's about intellect. This is a tough course to tame. Into the run goes Jiri Renner, chasing after Jiri Wolf. It is wonderful to see Jiri Renner back in the top category of the sport for the first time in 3 years. So what's the difference between this category and the stock category? Well, you can increase the pace of the board. You can open up the power from about 15 brake horsepower to about 17 brake horsepower. That doesn't sound like much of a big difference, but when these boards are only 20 kilograms in weight, the titanium direct fuel injection boards can really push out. You can play a little bit more with the fuel injection. You can play a little bit more with the aerodynamics on the underside, the fins on the underside of the board. It's as Formula One as this sport is ever going to get, the elite men's category. So the first open run, let's see what Jiri Renner and Jiri Wolf are going to do. The first lap time comes in for Renner, 54.5. So straight back in there with a decent time. Here's Jiri Wolf. Rally driver, moto surfer, friend to everyone in this paddock. And he's going to push it. You would not think that this man is 52 years of age. There's definitely a painting in this man's attic that keeps changing. Out through the right. Across the line, 54.57 to beat. He's got a 57.6. That's a good opener. There's more pace to come. You're not going to see a single elite rider lap this course in under a minute. Over a minute, I should say, sorry. They're all going to get it in under a minute. And so the riders push to the absolute limits. And they will work their magic in fine style. Great to see the riders put on a good show. The future Mrs. Ung has been watching from back home. Her and the cat have been enjoying the qualifying run for Team Korea, as it's yet another pole position for both the Masters categories. But across the line, Jiri Renner's done a 52.8. That's much quicker. What about Jiri Wolf? What can he do? He's going to come across the line for a 54.7. Both riders finding masses of time in their second run. And Jiri Renner is provisional pole position on a 52.8. Next up, two more big guns for the Jet Surf HK STKS squad. Jan Travnicek and Miroslav Kups. Both 38 years of age, both very experienced at this level. Good job, Jiri. Welcome back to the big show. So Jan Travnicek, the 38-year-old from Spezov, he raced in the stock category at the Turkish Grand Prix at the beginning of the year. He's been in the top 5 of the stock category twice in the last 3 years. Sorry, 3 times in the last 4 years, I should say. He was 5th in 2022, 4th in 2023, 10th in 24. That was a bit of a blip, but 5th in the stock category last year. And here he is again in the open category. And out there with him is Miroslav Kups, the 38-year-old from Vrznetin, 6th in the Elite Championship last year, raced in the stock category from the 2022 to the 24 season. He was in the top 10 of the standings in 2024. Here's Jan Travnicek then, from stock to elite in the same season. Let's see what Travnicek's able to do. He's currently got to beat a time of 52.841. Can Travnicek do that? Certainly going to be pushing to the ragged edge, and these boards, they only have 2 or 3 more horsepower than their stock counterparts, but that's enough. Trust me, you don't need any more than that. If these boards could get up to 20 horsepower, it would be unbelievably dangerous. They're just about lucky that they can get to the pace that they've got. You don't need much more than that. So far then, the pole position sitters are Stanislav Kohut in junior boy, Nela Pozhnikova in junior girl, Kim Down in the Masters men, Lee Eun-jin in the Masters women, Alexander Lanner for Sweden in the Electric Challenge. In the stock category, it's Adam Collar, In the elite women's category, it's Aneta Stokalova. Who's it going to be in elite men? We're just getting started to find the answer to that question as Jan Travnicek gets a 51.8. Miroslav Kurbs is going to be pushing to try and find a 51 as well. Out through the buoys on the end of the run to complete the course. 51.8 to beat. What is the time for Miroslav Kurbs? 53.2. Still more time to find then. But in the elite category, this is where you are literally dancing with injury, flirting with disaster, and stretching yourself to the ragged edge of what is possible. Such a tough mission. Such a big battle. A 54.1 for Travnicek. That's not going to be an improvement. But what about Miroslav Kurbs? He needs to find more than a 53.21. He's going to have to work hard at it through the slalom. Trying to find that little bit more. Hesitation. Just missed one buoy. That's enough. Sorry, Miro. It's game over, and he knows it. He's not going to go through the timing line because there's no need to. He knows he's not going to get a faster time. So Miroslav Kurbs, it's done. Travnicek is going to try and finish this run. He's already done two. I don't know why he's trying to get a third one out of it. Jan, you've already done two, mate. You don't need a third one. You can't have a third one. I think he's just trying to prove it to himself more than anything else. He comes through, and the time is, well, it doesn't make any difference because the first two are already completed. Now to the top 6 riders in the elite category. First of all, the two kings of stock 2025, the stock rookie champion Mike Michailidis and the overall stocked world champion Anthony Squire of the United States. He's earned this nickname over the last 6 months, the Dirty Banana. But Anthony Squire is not going to leave any peels out there on the water this time. He's going to push it. Born in South Africa, lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the stock world champion, 4 times North American champion in the last 4 years. He's now going to try and continue his march in the elite category. And out there with him, the 18-year-old Cypriot for Seawolf and Foresight Sports from Limassol, the stock rookie world champion 2025. Alexander Lanner has gone and nicked the motocross machine off Alex Lukescheider. He's done for the day. He's out for a play. Good lad. He's left a very nice motocross acceleration line right in front of my commentary box. I love this sport so much. I really, really do. There's nothing like this anywhere on the planet. And just to prove the point, Mike Michailidis and Anthony Squire are going to show us. The Cypriot versus the American. Here we go. Anthony Squire begins his time run. 2 laps of the course here in Sweden. And the Huski Wear Grand Prix of Sweden here in the beautiful nation's capital of Stockholm. On the Djursgårdsvinsbruken, the Bay of Sweden as it is affectionately known here in the country. Michailidis is going to push to the ragged edge to see if the 18-year-old can go top. 51.814 to beat. Does he go to the top of the timesheets? Yes, he does. 51.44 for the Cypriot. Excellent work from Mike Michailidis. Now, what about the banana? Anthony Squire. Working his magic through the slalom, really finding some aggression. He seems to have got into his rhythm now. Struggled in the early part of practice. Now he's finding his true aggression. Squire over the line. Is it quicker? Yes! 50.54 for Anthony Squire. Stunning. Brilliant pace from the American. That is what we've been waiting for from him all season long in the elite class. So Michailidis has got to dig deep and find some more. Very tough stuff for these two. Michailidis and Squire going at it, hammer and tongs. Pushing to try and find that little bit extra. Here comes Michailidis up to the slalom for the second and final time. He's bailed out on it. That's unfortunate for Michailidis. Oh no, sorry, he did cross the line. 50.3, he's taken the lead away. Apologies, the screen was playing tricks on me, or my eyes were playing tricks on me. Whichever, Michailidis has taken the lead away from Squire by 0.2 of a second. Can Squire take it back as he comes through? Oh, so close. But it's not going to happen. It's Mike Michailidis who takes the lead then here in Stockholm. A brilliant second run for Mike Michailidis. The gap between the two of them, 0.17. So the American Anthony Squire is second. The Cypriot Mike Michailidis is provisional pole here in Sweden. A great start. And now we've got two superstar competitors from the Czech Republic to try and find that top spot. The 18-year-old from Liberec, Adam Ficek for FG Forest Racing versus Alex Lukscheider for Team Huski. So there are the two riders. There's Adam Ficek, 18 years of age, fifth in the Stock Championship last year, made his junior debut all the way back in 2022. Raced in the Stock Rookie category for the following 2 seasons, third in Stock Rookie in 2024. And then there's this man, Alex Lukscheider, carrying the colours of Huski for Team Sweden. And he's got massive reputation. Ficek goes into the lap, pushes his way further forward, going for broke at the fast end. Adam Ficek, so close to a podium in the elite category. He knows it's imminent. He's been making such progress in the Elite World Championship. He's had a lot of bad luck, a couple of schoolboy errors, but he's not far away from the top spot. He knows it. He's just got to keep finding more pace. Meanwhile, Alex Lukscheider, the 19-year-old from Brno, Rookie World Cup champion 2021, Stock Rookie World Champion 2022, 3 times a European champion, going for it in the Elite World Championship. Can either of these men get the pole position off Mike Michailidis? This is Ficek's chance, 50.37 to beat, 48.11 from Ficek. Stunning lap. Absolutely destroys the pace of everyone else. 48.1. Well, beat that, Alex Lukscheider. That's massive from Adam Ficek. So now Lukscheider's got to get under 48 seconds. Can he do it on the first run? He comes off the slalom, comes through the gate, 48.9. He's 0.8 back from Ficek. Whatever Adam Ficek had for breakfast this morning, give me a crate of it. Adam Ficek is storming through the slalom for the second time, and he's looking magic out there. Final 2 buoys, left, push, right, accelerate, find the line. Is it quicker? 48.8, it's still quicker than Lukscheider, but 48.1 from Adam Ficek. The fastest thing we've ever seen on this Jøsgaardsvindsbrücken course. Alex Lukscheider pushing all the way. Perfect pivot in the slalom. That will have given him a couple of tenths. Can he push it to the end? Lukscheider, final buoy, little bit wayward, still on pace, 48.6, it's not enough. Adam Ficek is provisional pole here in Stockholm. What a performance from Adam Ficek. The crowd are very happy with Alex Lukscheider, who celebrates in style in the water for the team, gives the team a lot of excitement, but Adam Ficek is the man to beat. 48.115. That might not get beaten. But if you can rely on 2 men who will, it's these 2. The Sorcerer and his apprentice. Matthias Novotny, the reigning world champion, and the most decorated man in moto surf, Łukasz Zahorski, the man who's won it all. Matthias Novotny, Elite World Champion 2024 and 2025, double European Junior Champion, still only 18 years of age, the man from Nikinica. And he's up against the Michael Schumacher of moto surf, Łukasz Zahorski, 25 years of age from Brno, World Cup champion in 2016, 18, 19, 21, the world champion 22 and 23, the gold medalist in the World Games solo and Nations Cup disciplines, the Electric World Challenge champion 2024. There is nothing Łukasz Zahorski hasn't won in this sport, and yet he still finds the motivation to push it to the ragged edge. You're about to see the best two men in the Elite World Championship. But have they got enough to beat the time set by Adam Ficek, who has just destroyed his opposition? Only Luke Scheider could get close. Half a second to the deficit. Here goes Lukas Zahorski, the king of Moto Surf. But has Ficek found a sweet spot? 48-1 is going to be so hard to beat, even for Lukas Zahorski and Mateusz Nowotny. They absolutely dig deep. Here comes Mateusz Nowotny, the reigning world champion for the last 2 years, goes at it. Have at you, Adam. I'm coming for your time. Zahorski finds the slalom for the first time. Attacks it with determination. He's gone! Zahorski's down! Zahorski's down in the slalom. Such a rare mistake from the multiple world champion. Lukas Zahorski trying to find the pace on Ficek, and he goes down. So the first run is nothing. Now it's time to see what Nowotny can do. Nowotny dances his way through these buoys. Zahorski's going to have to find back and find another run. But what about Nowotny's opener? It's 48.115 to beat. Can he do it? Nowotny, 48.17. It's not quite there. 65,000 shy of Ficek. Is Adam Ficek going to take his first pole position in the Elite World Championship? There's thousandths of a second resting on this now. And we still have no idea what Zahorski's going to do on his second run. He's dialing up, ready for it. So there's Nowotny, pushing. All fingers across for Ficek. Zahorski's bailed out. He's not going to do another one, I think. Zahorski's going to start this Grand Prix from the back. So Nowotny is trying to find 65 thousandths of a second more. He's got to push it. Is it enough? Can he get there? No! He's not going to make it! Adam Ficek will take his maiden pole position in the Moto Surf World Championship. What an astonishing turn up for the books. One of the most unluckiest men in the sport has dug deep and found the magic. Adam Ficek is pole position in Stockholm. The form book has been rewritten in Stockholm. Annette Stuckelova grabs the pole in Elite Women, and Adam Ficek is pole in Elite Men. What a magnificent result. Unless Lukas Zahorski, who I believe is going to get another shot at this. Well, he was still on the water. He hasn't pulled it in yet. So can Zahorski take this away after all? The first lap is a dud. This has got to be it for Zahorski. Can the genius of the waves, whether it's the ocean, the reservoir, the lake, or the river, can he be the man to topple Adam Ficek? Can the multiple World Cup and World Champion and gold medalist bounce back in style and take this away from Adam Ficek? He's got to find a time underneath, 48.115. It's now or never for Lukas Zahorski through the slalom. Here he goes. He's really got to attack these last two buoys. It's got to be now. Zahorski attacks the last buoy to the line. Is it enough? No, fourth position. He's behind Luke Scheider. So pole position is confirmed for Adam Ficek. Boy, did he have to wait for it. But on this occasion, the two top men in the category are not quick enough to vanquish Adam Ficek. It's a pole position for the FG Forest Racing team. They have toppled the might of Team Huski and Rocket Racing. History is made in Stockholm as Adam Ficek vanquishes all in the Elite Men's World Championship qualifying. My goodness me, are we in for a stunning day of racing tomorrow here in Sweden. It's been absolutely unpredictable all the way through. And now we have got ourselves some real superstars to be in pole position for the next 2 days of racing. Junior boy, Stanislav Kahut is pole. Junior girl, Nella Pozhnikova is pole. Masters men, pole position is Kim Down. In Masters women, pole position is Lee Eun-jin. In the electric challenge, it's Sweden's Alexander Lanner in pole position. In the stock class, Adam Kolar is in pole. In the elite women, Aneta Stukalova. And in the elite men, get this for a story, Adam Ficek. What an amazing battle the Husky Wear Grand Prix of Sweden is going to be tomorrow. Cancel your plans for the weekend. It is going to be an amazing battle out here on the water. From me, Jake Sanson, and everyone here on the beautiful water at the Djurgårdsvinsbruken here in Stockholm in Sweden. This could be the Grand Prix of the season. See you tomorrow.